Hey, Tom.
Hey, Curtis.
Do you need a beer, bud?
Yeah, I do, buddy.
There you go.
Nice. Time to power up.
Let's do a podcast.
Let's do it.
Coffee, I might not quite sure.
Or brand new chair.
Welcome to the Great Canadian Hosers!
And guests.
And guests.
And we have another great return of a fantastic human being here from the beautiful Edmonton, Alberta, Lauren.
Hi.
Welcome again.
Welcome back, Lauren.
Thanks for having me one more time, guys.
And
One
today-
more time.
Today is about video games once again, and this is part 3 of the console wars.
Welcome to 1995. And it's January. Christmas just happened. There's a lot of shit that's going to come down the pipe.
I just read 12 books and I got my free pizza from Pizza Hut. Fucking ready.
Oh, did you check out the Sunday bar while you were
And
there?
I got the small basketball. Remember
Oh, yeah.
when Pizza Hut had that?
Yeah, man.
So what about the
Pizza
books?
Hut
I don't
parties.
understand.
You used to, like, it was a school program in the 90s where if you read a certain number of books over the summer, you got, like, a free pizza from Pizza Hut.
Yeah, man.
Just throwing a stupid 90s reference in.
Right on.
Because there's a lot of them.
Did you like Domino's or Pizza Hut back then?
Hang on,
Which
hang
one
on.
was your
Something's
favorite?
off here. There we go. Now
That's-
we're,
everything is better in the
Everything's
universe.
better.
everything's back to normal.
Were you Domino's guy or a Pizza Hut guy?
Pizza Hut, because Domino's wasn't really here back then.
Yeah.
You know? I don't, like, do you guys, maybe it was different.
No,
but
I was a Pizza
we
Hut
never
guy.
ordered Domino's. We always just healed from the local. We also excuse me, I can't talk yes too early. We also just ordered from the local pub basically for
Yeah.
our pizza.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad's Pizza Shop.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, not to segue off, it is 1995. We're January. We are in January. Sorry, it's still pretty early here. But there's a lot of consoles that came out during the 90s, right?
Yeah, like, I think if people nowadays, like the, Sony cronies and Xbox fanboys, if they were to realize there were 22 consoles that came out and handhelds during the Super Nintendo and Genesis battle, that if that was today, nobody could afford gaming. Forget it.
Yeah.
Like-
It was a trial and error back then. It's like, oh, this console is gonna be great. Buy it. Oh shit, I invested my money in this, and now I have to see and wait if there's gonna be some good games. And then at that point, you're not buying another one, and definitely your parents aren't buying you a second console. It's like, hey kid, I just bought you one in January, right?
Yep. So you were stuck with it. And yeah, some of these were not cheap at all.
What's some of the prices?
Well, Curtis has our master list. We're going to start going through some of them.
Okay, so are we going to go through this category called the other guys?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to be reading off a number of consoles that I have never heard of before, and perhaps you guys can be shining some light on these.
Yes.
To start is a video game console called 3DO. It
Yes.
was actually released in 1993 of October, and it was $700 US.
In 93. That's not like, at the very beginning of this
That's
podcast,
like what,
we talked
$1,400
about,
bucks nowadays?
Oh, yeah. Like, we talked about how, the Super Nintendo's adjusted price was about $410 if you bought it
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And the Genesis was like $408. This was $700 in the 90s. So you're talking like well over $1,000 adjusted. It's insane. It's probably close to $1,400, which was
Pretty crazy.
absolutely unheard of. I had a buddy in high school that had one of these. His dad was a lawyer, and they were separated, and his dad paid for his love. So he's the only guy I knew that had one of these things. That said, it sucked.
It
It's
did.
a
Kind of a
3-button
commercial
controller.
failure.
It very cool system. Like instead of it having, a flip open tray, it was actually like the tray pulled out like an actual CD player. It looked cool, but the games for it sucked. That's just unfortunately.
Were there more than one type of model for this?
Yeah, because it was just a standard. So like Panasonic, Gold Star, I think Sanyo was another company. They could take the specs. It's almost like Android nowadays, right? Like as long as you meet the specs, you could build it however you wanted. So there was multiple models on the market, but none of them cheap.
So apparently it was made by Panasonic, Gold Star, and Sanyo. So 3 different manufacturers.
There was 3 main partner manufacturers. Yeah, the one that I have is the very first Panasonic model. So it's like very square. There was other ones that almost look like, sleek, like the Sega CD style, but yeah, like so I remember they had Street Fighter was really good on it.
Yeah.
Samurai Showdown was really good on it.
I think Alien vs Predator came out on 3DO as well.
Maybe after the another console we're going to talk about.
So I'm guessing, like many things in this world, if you can't make money, you can't make fun with a device, you just turn it into some kind of sex machine. And apparently this became a porn machine in Japan.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
It was pretty much like almost like MPEG video discs. That's really all they sold in Japan. Nobody really bought it for games. So it was just porn on CD plus G discs, like graphic discs.
Yeah, imagine like, where you go buy like Kit Kat bars or whatnot, a vending machine, but it's like a cheap DVD with porn on it.
So like a little, just not an actual DVD though, but it's a...
No, it's a CD.
DVD. Yeah, CD.
It was like, it wasn't the full screen. Like
It was like when you watched
grainy
it,
ass
like
videos.
a small little cube on a TV. Because if you stretched it out, it would be all blocky, right?
Yeah.
It's so primitive.
Cool. Well,
So yeah, that was a 3DO, pretty
3DO.
much.
so
Turn
this
into a
is
porn
this,
machine.
this has anything to do with 3DO, the video game manufacturer, like the Heroes series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Same company.
Because I played Heroes 3 like a crazy bastard when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
to think
Battle
that
tanks, all of it.
to think that they made a console is crazy.
Well,
Yeah, they
and
did.
what I don't get is
Kind of same thing with Sega,
this
right?
thing existed, and
Sega
yet
makes
all the
games now.
EA sports games weren't exclusive to it. To me, that's how they would have made the console work, but they never did that. So that kind of shot them in the foot too, right? They did have some good EA games, like Road Rash was on it, and it looked amazing at the time. But you go back and look at it now, you'd be like, there's nothing impressive about this console at all. But
you said Samurai Showdown's actually pretty good on this
it looks
console.
really good on it, and it
Super
was,
Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
believe it or not, a cheaper way to play it than Neo Geo at the time. So
$200 a cart?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the Amiga CD32.
Yes.
What a shitty console.
This is like just like the Sega Genesis. This was reusing parts.
Yeah.
So there was Amiga PCs. All those parts were sitting on a shelf somewhere. They said, "Yeah, let's throw it into a box and sell them."
This thing sucked. There was no good games on this console.
Man,
Period.
Google the controller. It's easily the ugliest controller I've ever seen.
You really needed to use your imagination to fucking play these games too. They sucked.
Okay, how
Moving
about
on.
the PC FX, released in 1994?
This was the lead
Again.
up or the follow up to like TurboGrafx or PC Engine that we had. It was so overpowered for a 2D console.
But it came too late.
One,
right?
it was only Japan,
Okay.
and because they had the PC-98 computer, that was really not that much more, and it was so widely available. This just didn't stand a chance.
So it came and it left.
Pretty much, I think
4 years?
60 games total.
Over a 4-year span?
I think so.
Yeah, 94, 98.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're right.
So next is the Pioneer Laser Active. That's
This thing is a
93.
collector's dream.
But it sucks.
I mean, it does and it doesn't. It's a cool idea, but it's
It is.
so wildly expensive. So it was essentially a laser disc player, but it had like these pack things that you could stick in. Like you could pull out a module and then put in a module that had a Sega Genesis card.
Yeah.
And you could play Sega Genesis on it. Or you could pull it out and put in I think I had a TurboGrafx one. These things were $600 just for the pack.
God, what?
So why wouldn't you just spend $100 for a Genesis?
Seriously.
$600, and the unit itself was like $1,200 or $1,000. Yeah, $970 in '93.
What?
So to play a Sega Genesis game on a Pioneer Laser Active, you are spending $1,500 in 1993. Probably
Who
close to
spends that
$3
much?
grand.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just forget it.
Wow.
But wildly collectable. People are bidding these things up. They are
So,
paying
I don't
roughly that
understand.
much
What's-
money
What's
today.
the appeal? I don't get it.
Just history, I guess.
Nerds.
But I have no interest whatsoever in one of these.
There's some kind of story attached to this thing that maybe we're not really tapping into.
Yeah.
I like Pioneer at the time.
Hmm.
I mean, you remember you would go into like for here there was always what was it, International Stereo?
Yes,
Where
right,
You walk in
yes.
and they were pimping whatever Pioneer was making that year. Yeah, Pioneer was like the name everybody wanted
Okay.
back then. The
Yeah.
like Pioneer Elite.
It's like
and
Kenwood.
I had Kenwood. That was Kenwood JL speakers. But the Pioneer was like the name to have, right? So when this thing released, and they pimped the shit out of Laser Active.
Yeah.
They really wanted it to be the next thing, and I never bothered with it because it was you had to flip the disc halfway through the movie, so they were pointless.
Next, in 1993, was also the Atari Jaguar.
I
Apparently,
always wanted one of these.
This was the first 64-bit system.
I remember the commercials for this so vividly.
Some of you believe
And
you're
I always wanted
Do the
one.
math.
Oh, I know.
Do the math.
64 bits, Nintendo 64 wasn't even close to being done yet. I remember seeing the commercials and being like, this is going to be the next generation of gaming. And how
Yeah.
how
How
that did
fucking
not
wrong were
happen.
you? Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the first problem was it wasn't 64-bit. It was
No.
two 32-bit, really weak 32-bit co-processors put together,
Yeah,
essentially.
kind of like you have to. They were split down the board.
Yeah, exact same way that a TurboGrafx wasn't actually 16-bit. It was 2 8s. This is the same thing, 2 32s. And
Yeah.
weak-ass 32s at that. This system blew ass.
Yeah.
That's it. It had one game, Alien vs. Predator, and that's it.
Yeah, that was a cool game.
So then
that
what do
also
you...
came out on the 3DO though.
When your console sucks that bad, what do? You double down and you build a CD to go with it.
And it looked like a dumpster when you put it on.
So
It
if you...
literally looked like
well,
a
it
fucking,
was, you could
it's
see
not a
through
dumpster,
it.
a toilet. It looked like a toilet.
Yeah, because you could see the disc spinning and it literally looked like a toilet flushing.
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit.
What a stupid console. Fuck that thing.
Fuck Atari.
How
what-
expensive was it?
Cheap, actually. I think it was like $249 or $200 or something. So relatively cheap for a console at the time.
But that's a mistake of a console.
Yeah.
Are we hitting every single one down underneath that, or can I?
Just really quick notes. Like FM Town's Marty was just the first 32-bit console. It was Japan only.
Never heard of it.
Yep. Nobody has.
Apple, Bandai, Pippin.
The Pippin.
That one
was
was
like
a colossal failure as well.
Apple's attempt to get in.
Yeah, they never tried to make another console after that. This
No.
was the first one and the last one they ever did.
And then Bandai did something else called the Playdia, which was like
I never heard of this one.
we were talking about this pre-podcast. Like if you went into a bar,
8-bit CD. What?
yeah,
That's stupid.
it was literally because all it was screens with trivia, so it didn't need to be
okay.
a powerful system. It was
Okay.
literally
It's called
just
a
a trivia
trivia
game.
console.
An educational
Honestly,
device.
well, like edutainment. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
we were talking
Math
earlier
Blasters.
about you would walk into a bar and they had something here called the NTN, National Trivia Network. So you could go up to the bar and ask them for a console, and it was just like A, B, C, D for like multiple choice, right? And then you'd like the shittiest TV in the corner of the bar had the trivia going on it, and you would see like a few people playing it. That's all it was. Like this was just a home console version of that, and it was a great idea, but didn't really sell. Then what else we have? Casio Loopy was a female-based console that was in Japan too.
What was it? Pink?
It had 10 games. That's it.
What was it-
those 10
what
games-
made it, like,
It was
work
like
for
a
gender?
visual novel kind of games. You know
So
what
you
I
read books?
kind of.
Okay.
And that's what they figured female gamers were
So
wanted
this
at the time.
says
That's
this says
pretty crazy.
targeted female gamers had a thermal color printer.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
cool.
could like almost like the
Like the
Game Boy
Color
Eye or whatever.
printer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool.
So it was a thermal printer, and you could print stickers and stuff on it. So like
Yeah.
your favorite scenes of these visual novels, they could print them off and put them on like backpack or whatever. Didn't really work. Didn't catch on. Then what? Oh, so now the last few consoles that we would talk about are actually made some kind of footprint, or got a little bit of market share. And the first one was the PC Engine. First
So this
off,
one,
that
I
one actually
do know.
got second in Japan. It beat the Genesis in Japan.
Yeah.
So that has to be said right off the bat. It was successful.
And it's far superior graphic-wise from what I see.
Well, it was the very first CD. So like the very first CD games were on this console. They loved redesigning this thing.
Yeah.
Because there are 17 different versions of this console,
17?
including the smallest console ever made.
Still to this day?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you've ever seen a PC Engine or a TurboGrafx game, it's literally the size of a credit card. They call it a HU card,
okay.
and or HU, HU Hudson card. That's how big the game is. That's it. So it's that.
Like a little, you're basically describing what's like a thick Pokemon card.
Pretty much. Then the console, the smallest one, the PC Engine Core Graphics 3 or whatever it was called, was barely bigger than that. So
What?
it was maybe the size of a piece of bread.
I'll have to put pictures of this up.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty astounding.
It's a very
for-
small console
for the time.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't really understand. So PC Engine, as in like personal computer engine, but is that like a company or what? Is
So it was Hudson Soft in Japan.
So Hudson Soft made the PC Engine.
Yeah, that was what they called the console in Japan, and we called it the TurboGrafx 16 here.
By Hudson,
Which you'll see the TurboGrafx, they made it considerably bigger because they just associated Americans with
Bigger
is better, right?
Big hamburgers.
Put a
So if
lift
you
on
open
that
one up, there's
console.
like 80% air on the inside of this thing because they made it bigger for no reason.
Oh, for better cooling.
Of course.
Do you think the Xbox could have been a lot smaller the first time they released it?
I don't think they could have.
It couldn't have been bigger.
Smaller.
It couldn't have been bigger. That's a beast.
Yeah.
I have a pretty extensive console, and I think last it counted was 28, and it's probably the biggest one. Is the original Xbox on my
Yeah.
Well, the PS4 Pro is pretty close to it.
Okay, let's get away from this system.
Yeah. Neo Geo. And in my notes, I literally put it fucking God console.
Yeah, and fuck you if you owned one, because you're one of those rich motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, it's like in August 1990, so there's two different versions. If you ever played it in an arcade, that's called the multi-video system, MVS.
Like 200
And
bucks
if
a game.
you knew even that rich fucking daddy's a lawyer guy from high school, even he couldn't afford one of these. $650 US in 1990 for the
Jesus
Adventure
Christ.
Entertainment System. That was the home version. So yeah, there was a gold version. It
That's
had
like
two joysticks in the
$1,300
game. The silver version was $400. It only came with one joystick and no game. And then games were $200 US each. But they, like, if you think about a Super Nintendo game, the biggest one they ever made was 48 megabits. These were regularly over 300 megabits.
Yeah, they
And the
needed-
biggest
they needed
cart
something
was
to put it on.
716 megabits.
Yeah.
Massive games. We were looking earlier before the Samurai Showdown 5. It's probably one of the most beautiful 2D games I've ever seen.
Yeah, scaling's really well done.
Unbelievable. The zoom in and zoom out, how
Yeah.
crystal clear it is. And, I mean, it doesn't matter because it was
Because for,
$650.
For Genesis and Super Nintendo, you would see a lot of like square pixelated outer edges whenever you zoom in and zoom out. It looks almost distorted, right?
Yeah. So this console was made by Takashi Nishiyama.
And who is that, Lauren?
Well, that's the thing. I don't fucking know, but he created Street Fighter. He was the father of Street Fighter. So the first game, and then Street Fighter 2, and then he moved on immediately, and he helped develop the Neo Geo and every single fighting game on it. Art of Fighting, King of Fighters, Fatal Fury. He even helped with Metal Slug.
Cool. I love that game.
It also has a Yamaha FM synth.
Oh, cool. Those
The
are
exact, well, not quite the exact same one, but pretty similar to the one in the Genesis.
Yeah.
So if you're curious how to make great fucking sound with that thing, look at a Neo Geo, because it sounds incredible. And it's almost the same method of sound creation as the Genesis, which doesn't sound good at all at times.
So in the end, far superior than both consoles. Very expensive, and the games are too expensive to the point where us as kids back then could not afford that kind of shit.
No, you went with like $5 on a Friday afternoon or something to a arcade, and you played the arcade versions, which were identical, but you didn't have to have that $600.
Maybe I
initial
missed
investment.
it. Who's the manufacturer of the Neo Geo?
The SNK was the company that made it.
And what else? What are they known for? Those guys?
They're known for nowadays fighting games.
Yeah, they make games, but they also made that console, and then they made a CD version to save money. It was significantly cheaper, but the load times killed that thing.
Yeah, the load times were like as bad as first PlayStation.
Yeah.
Sorry, PlayStation 1. Anyway, moving on to the next one.
So it says here, the Neo Geo CD replaced the AES for cost. They ditched the joystick, but was still compatible. What are you saying here?
So with the original Neo Geo, it came with a big arcade style joystick, which was like $150.
And what is an AES?
That was the Adventure Entertainment System version of Neo Geo. So they had the arcade version and the home version. Played the exact same games, but the home version was so expensive. So expensive that they came out with this CD version to try to cut the cost down. And the games went from, $200 to $50. And but the load times were so bad that it didn't matter. It was unplayable. You were waiting sometimes like a minute and a half for a screen to load.
So this is all part of the fourth generation, what we just listed off?
Yes. So Super Nintendo and Genesis are fourth gen gaming, and all of these consoles came out during that fourth gen.
And that's 16 consoles that came out during that generation.
Absolutely. So consoles, add-ons, or handhelds. So we're counting everything. 32X is counted in this. And then during the fifth gen, 24 total systems came out. And that's part of this stuff too. Like all the CD-based stuff is fifth generation, essentially. PlayStation is fifth gen.
And basically, these things would come out to like prolong the longevity of the console, so that they would have to manufacture a new one.
But nowadays, you go, okay, let's say right now, this current generation.
Could you imagine if that would happen nowadays?
Well, let's just say there's what? There's a Switch, there's a Series X, Series S, I guess.
Yeah.
You count them as two different consoles. PS5, PC, 5,
Yeah, that's it.
and then,
I mean, if you want to count the fucking Steam handheld.
well, I get the Steam, right, and then the fucking Google whatever.
Just count
Stadia.
It at that point. Fuck
Okay,
it.
7, 24 versus 7. Like if 24 consoles were out now, 20 of them would die. Because they would choke themselves out, just like they did back then, right? So the power of the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, it shows in how many other guys tried to get in on it.
Yeah.
And they learned
failed.
very quickly that it just did not work.
It's almost like, you know what? You have these newcomers, they try and they're failing at it, and then you have Atari, who, I'm sorry, but I forget what's his name that managed that company for.
Like Nolan Bushnell, or
Yeah, he fucked up like what 3 times. Sega asked him for help, he said no. Nintendo asked him for help, he said no. Who? Oh, right. He fired like 4 of the main game developers of the company that were like that held it together, and they formed Activision. And then Activision started making games for Atari, and they're like, "What? Did we fire these guys?" Like,
and they made games that, like they made the best games for the Atari.
so it's just crazy how people do like these ridiculous mistakes, and
Yeah.
and that's what these companies did. They came in maybe I feel for the most part either too late or too early, or they didn't really grasp the situation and know how high people expectations were at that point for video game consoles. Because now you have the first, like, no offense, you're tiny people who went through Atari, Intellivision, ColecoVision, Odyssey 2 and shit.
Yeah.
And there was all this crap on the shelves, and that killed it. and then they came back with like Sega Master System and everything else, and then it took a while for it to just get traction again. And now you're in the fast forward to the mid '90s, where the expectations are so high. As a video game nerds, just as a console fanatic, or even somebody who wants to buy something for their entertainment system in their living room, they're looking for the best thing they can buy. So if you were to buy one of these crappy game consoles, let's just say it hypothetically, you were to buy a Neo Geo, how many games are you going to have for that damn system?
Wow, we got maybe a game for our birthday and a game for Christmas back then.
2.
So, but those were $50 games, not $200 games.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Even buying the best console back then comes at a fucking price. Like, you really have to see the entire umbrella and make sure that the fucking rain doesn't drop on your head, man.
Yeah, it was. Well, we learned very quickly that anybody getting in on the console war didn't immediately mean success, and most of these were completely ignored.
Absolutely.
Out of all the other guys, PC Engine is the only one that actually had success.
Yeah, when I look at this list, like, you can say Neo Geo is a great system, but was it a success? No, it wasn't.
No.
Which is a shame.
But
anyway,
yeah,
that's all our consoles. We just wanted to kind of cement it in.
We
like,
couldn't
at the
ignore that
time.
these guys existed, so we had to mention them, and now we're not going to, because we have games to talk about.
We have games to talk about. And we have a great narrator here.
Looks like we're starting in January 1995. So there's kind of these are sections. So January to March, April to June.
Yeah, I figured we'd just do it by quarter, because we're getting down to the nitty gritty at this point.
Sure. Okay. Ignition Factor. Have you heard of this one?
Yes, it's actually a really fun top-down RPG action RPG style game where you're a firefighter. You're supposed to put out a fire inside of buildings and people's homes, rescue cats and humans, make sure that they get oxygen and that the building doesn't burn entirely down.
Oh, neat.
It was made by Jalico, which is a great company. And
what console would that be on?
that would be for Super Nintendo.
Okay.
And it's just a great looking game.
So these are all SNES games.
Yeah, the first 4 are Super Nintendo. The rest are Genesis.
Oh, okay. Mega Man X2.
What a great fucking game. I love this game. Probably one of my favorite games.
Significantly harder than Mega Man X.
Oh, I just love it. Like, I don't even know. The music is so great. Probably some of the best music you'll hear in any Super Nintendo games at all. Like, honestly, when I think, like, awesome tunes, this is the game I think of. Mega Man X, Mega Man X2, F-Zero series, Chrono Trigger, but this is like the top dog. Capcom just nailed this fucking one, man.
This game had a co-chip in the cart too.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, like CPS2 chip or something. So it was one of those cheater carts that had more power.
Published and developed by Capcom. It came out in December 16, 1994. The composer is Yuki. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Yuki Iwai. Iwai. Sorry if I'm butchering that, but this guy did the X series and some of the first, I think, Mega Man 5 and 6 for the original Nintendo. I love that you can still find parts of your armor so that you upgrade. You can upgrade your hand cannon. You still have the normal amount of Mavericks that comes over, and you have to kill the Mavericks with your special ability and gun that you would have gotten from a previous boss. That makes it a bit easier. The story's great. It's still between Dr. Wily and Dr. Bright and
Sigma.
And Sigma, yes. At the end, when you beat all the Mavericks, spoilers, Sigma returns, and I forget, is a dog in this one as well or no?
No.
No, okay.
But the wireframe final boss
right.
is so cool, man. It's like wicked 3D effect, and it was
What does
cool.
a wireframe mean?
It was like very basic 3D. It was just like line polygons. So like it was his face, but it was all in like line vector drawing almost, and it was totally 3D. It was pretty cool.
That's all I really have to say. A fantastic game. If anybody out there has never played this game, it's definitely one to pick up. Like top 10 for.
I can't remember if I played this one. I must have played this.
You must have. It's one of the best platformers, shooting
yeah.
platformers of the console.
Yeah.
But get the Japanese one because the American fuck is it expensive.
It's very expensive.
Stupid expensive.
Yes.
How about Kirby's Dream Course?
Fantastic
played
game
this
made
one.
by HAL Laboratory. It's follows the Kirby series. It's a actually fantastic rendition of the game where it's reinvented in a way that you're supposed to like shot put Kirby in to a style of 3D course, and you're trying to get him to land. You're kind of like golfing with Kirby.
It's mini golf. It's
mini golf with
putt-putt
Kirby.
golf.
Yeah, it's
but
a lot of
Kirby.
I
fun.
have not played this one.
It's so stupid fun.
And this one's also very expensive.
I put this in the list because I would rent this game and play it for like 16 hours straight. I loved this game.
Bust a Move.
A classic port of the arcade. Really well
Which
done. I
was
think.
Neo Geo.
Oh, so this originated in Neo Geo, but then it was moved over to SNES.
Yeah, they saw the market. If they, redeveloped it for Super Nintendo, they'd make a lot more money. So it's the cool idea of like you have like all the colored bubbles up top, and you shoot, and you have to match 3 or more, and they'll disappear the bubbles, and they'll disappear the bubbles. Holy shit!
Huge Japanese phenomenon. Like it's literally up there with Hello Kitty in Japan.
That's actually a pretty good threat, Lauren. I will disappear you.
I will disappear you.
Can you make that a T-shirt, dude?
We're not cutting that either. We're leaving that in.
Fantasy Star 4.
This is honestly, I mean, most people when you go Super Nintendo, like name the best RPGs, they'll be arguing between 1 or 2. This is Genesis.
It's
number
the end of
one
the
RPG.
millennium, man. It's the best one.
It's the number 1 RPG in most people's list.
Made by Akinori Nishiyama and published by Sega in-house. Like, I can't believe Sega was pumping these out. Like, you know what? When you really think about it, why isn't Sega known more for being one of the top developers for RPGs?
I mean,
this is like a perfect example of how an RPG should be.
it definitely, like the anime fans will love the shit out of this game.
Yeah.
But really, it still has that twangy FM synth sound that everybody fucking hates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sega.
It's still like you put it right beside a game we'll talk about soon for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
It doesn't compare. It's not even close, right? Or like Final Fantasy VI. It's not even close.
Yeah. Then you'd basically just on to the next one.
But that's-
Basically, when you say it that way, this game sucks.
That's what we did back then, right? People were like, "Oh, Fantasy Star 4." It's
so
like
much
so
better.
fucking what, man?
Yeah,
We got
so much
Final
better.
Fantasy 6. We got like Secret of Mana. We got way better games than this shit, right? Like on Super Nintendo. So we. But that said, this was an excellent game.
Now we're moving on to the Genesis, I think.
Yeah.
With Power Drive.
Yeah, it was like a Sega Channel game that I remember. I had one friend who had Sega Channel, and
Again, I don't know what that means.
so you went through, like for us here, it would be Shaw cable. You could get a channel on your Shaw that had Genesis games, and you plugged your cable right into the Genesis, and it would fucking download games. It was so awesome,
Holy shit.
and you got like 30 games a month.
Off of your TV?
Yes,
How?
fuck yeah, it's you know what I mean. Like what?
In what year? Like
And I mean, back
1995?
then, trust me, we all looked at the cable like, fucking how? Like it's
Wow.
magic, man.
Never
But
heard of that.
You could get essentially a streaming service for video games in 1995 on the Genesis. It was insane. And then in Japan, Super Nintendo had the same thing. It was called Satellaview, but we never got it here. So that's unfortunate.
Holy crap.
Yeah, but I had a friend who had this, and I thought, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. I could not talk my parents into it.
How much do you think it was?
I think it was like $40 a month. But I mean, you got
That's
30
actually pretty
games.
expensive for back in the day.
Oh yeah, but you got 30 games.
But that's actually pretty. Dude, cable was cheaper back then.
Oh yeah, no, this
Like,
I'm
that's
not
expensive.
saying it's expensive.
Holy shit!
But-
$40.
If you think about how many games you got out of it, it was totally worth it. I'm gonna look it up. We're gonna make sure.
Should I move on?
Yes.
32X Afterburner. What is that?
Wow, what a great game!
Okay. So the game's called 32X. Afterburner is the release.
Yeah, the 32X was the plugin thing that
looked
made
like a
the
tumor
Genesis
on
a
top of the
32-bit
Sega.
Yeah, it was.
So 32X was actually a piece of hardware.
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's see here. It was $19 Canadian a month
It's not bad.
for the Sega channel.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 3 kids.
That's not that terrible for like 30 games. But Afterburner, it was the closest thing to the arcade port that we had. So that's why I threw it in the list.
What kind of game is that?
It's like you're like was it an F-16? You're a fighter jet.
Yeah, you're an F-14 Tomcat.
That's
I believe.
okay. You're a
behind-
fighter jet, and it's from behind, and you're killing
like a
killing the
classic
shit out of everything on the screen. It's
Behind
awesome.
a jet arcade, shoot missiles at all the enemies in front of you. Classic, really good when it came out.
Now we're on to Sega CD Samurai Showdown.
Oh, I love this game. Probably one of my favorite. I might get flack for this. I prefer playing this over Street Fighter 2. Any of the Street Fighter 2 games.
I think a lot of people
I prefer
did.
playing this game.
No, that's not like a hot take, really.
So good. Probably
Try
the
harder.
best version.
More hot takes, Tom.
More hot takes. If you don't like this game, you can go fuck yourself.
It doesn't compare to Clay Fighter. There's a hot.
That's a terrible comparison.
That's not even a hot take. That's just wrong.
This doesn't compare to Pit Fighter. Ooh.
Oh, fuck.
No, man, this is really good. The zooming in and out is perfect. You can maim people's body parts in this game because you start off with swords, and if your sword gets knocked out of your hand, you have to kind of like you move to hand combat. So now if your opponent still has a sword, which he probably will or she probably will, you can actually maim hands. You can cut someone in half. I think you can even like
You can,
you can clock
interact with the
someone's
level
head right
too.
off, right?
You can interact with the level, can't you?
Yeah.
Too, like
Yes, you can.
the table and shit in the background. You
Yeah.
can actually like throw a guy through it, and
The sound is the music's beautiful. It's classic Japanese. I guess what beat 1000 BC music type. Very lovely.
Classic Japan. Music.
Classic.
yeah, like
Japan.
Shogun era, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Shogun era music. Very lovely backgrounds. Everything is just beautifully done in this game. It's really well done.
So that was Samurai Showdown with the no W in Showdown. Is that
Correct.
deliberate? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like Showdown.
Yeah, no, it's not a
Showdown.
typo. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's
Continuing
called
on-
Fighting Spirits in Japan.
I don't know.
Continuing on
Spirits.
is on the Sega CD is the Snatcher Kojima massive censorship.
I love this game.
So
the
is
music.
this,
in this
a,
one's
is this a
great,
note
too.
of massive censorship? What do you mean by that?
So the note just thrown in there. This game was heavily censored.
Oh, okay, so-
It's from Metal Gear Solid legend Hideo Kojima. This was, I believe, his first ever game. Wild game. Like it's extremely collectible now, and you have next to no fucking chance of buying this thing.
No, ever.
So what is a
developed and
Snatcher?
published by Konami.
What's a Snatcher?
Basically, the story is that he's a detective,
Yes.
and he is trying to figure out. I don't want to spoil it for people who might actually like this game. He is trying to find out clues as to what happened in his past and what is going to happen in the future of someone's life.
So it's a dark investigative game.
Very noir, yes, it is.
Okay.
And
But like
it was developed and published
Japan
by
noir
Konami.
is like a totally special thing, man. Like
Yeah.
it's I dig it. It's really cool. It's not that like typical noir. It's just it has an edge to it.
It's
that's-
futuristic noir. It's
but
like
Kojima is just a master at storytelling,
yeah.
and you can see it in this game.
And,
It's
and you know
incredible.
what? 3 people drew this: Hideo Kojima, Yoshihiko Ota, and Tamiharu Kiroshita. 3 people made this game, and if you play this game from beginning to end, and you're like doing this real fast, this game is still a couple hours long.
Yep.
Like it's not a short game. It's a lot of fun, and like Lauren said, if you can find a copy, let alone afford it,
Yeah.
by all means, try
You're
this one
you're
out.
taking out a second mortgage for this one.
Yeah.
Next was an attempt to get into the Sonic world, and it's an RPG platformer called Pop Full Mail.
I never heard of this one.
No, so I believe it started off as a Sonic dev, and then they changed the character because they were starting to feel like they were milking the shit out of Sonic, and they were.
At this point, they were.
I mean, they completely were. So I've played very little of this game, but it's out there. It's collectible. Sega CD did have a lot of great games, but this was one of the more tolerable ones that people try to collect. So it's out there. It's that's about all I can say about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So next, we're gonna move right into the next quarter, like April to June. And this is where there's some pretty high-end
hitters here.
releases, some heavy hitters in this quarter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're still in 1995, and this is Fatal Fury Special.
Fantastic SNK game.
So this same guy, like the father of Street Fighter, who's just pumping out hit after hit. And Fatal Fury is what's the main guy's name? Terry.
Yes.
Terry. I was
guy
a
with a
sucker
cap.
for him. I always went and played as him. So in this game, I think in the arcade version, it has two, like a foreground and a background.
Yes.
So you can actually jump back and like take a small break from fighting, and then if you can suck them into following you, and it just made that extra element of you're not just fighting, like Street Fighter. You can jump into the background and change the style of the game. It was pretty cool.
Now, these next few that we're listing off are still on the SNES.
Yes.
And then how do I know when we go to the Genesis on this list?
Alien Soldier is the first Genesis one on this
Okay.
list.
Because you have like a color coordination thing that I don't see in yours.
Right, because
Okay.
I still have a black printer.
Okay, cool. I'm trying my best here. Next is Kirby's Avalanche.
I love this game.
Yeah, like Kirby. All the Kirby games on the Super Nintendo were massive hits. Like Superstar is probably the best one, but they all hit, and this one's no different. It's classic, awesome Kirby, sucking up enemies and taking their powers. Fun.
And there's hamsters and fish and animals that you can jump on the back or hitch a ride from, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yep.
The next one is Super Adventure Island 2.
Classic.
So I put this in because Super Adventure Island it's so Higgins. It's like the Wonder Boy style of platforming, but this one added an overworld,
Yeah.
kind of like Super Mario World, and it's just a wicked awesome game.
It's made by Hudson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good game.
So yep.
This one gets me excited because I'm a fantasy nerd, and I do
Oh,
like
yes.
myself, some orcs and ogres and goblins. And this one is called Ogre Battle: March of the Black Queen.
Oh my god. Talk about second mortgage. This one right here
Oh,
might need
yeah.
a third one.
Yeah, this is highly collectible. This is kind of the start
It's
of
the birth.
It's the birth
The
of
beginning.
like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yes.
So Ogre Battle plays a little differently than those.
This changed to conventional RPGs.
tactical,
the way
like
that they're being seen as today.
yeah. So this is like
the next step.
like tactical RPG style, like Shining Force or like Arc the Lad, things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
But Ogre Battle mixes a bit of almost that Nobunaga's ambition style too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It mixes both styles, and it's very, very good. Very collectible. Good luck.
Good luck.
That's it. I've seen this in the wild once.
I'm just looking at the
Like art
the
style and
art on
screenshots.
top of the game box, and it is pretty neat. It's kind of cutesy too. This is the way they drew the characters. Yeah, I can see why this is so valuable just by looking at the art styles.
Yeah, a loose card of this is $200.
Wow.
A complete in box recently sold for $1,600.
Good lord.
Hmm.
No, I never owned this game. I know you're gonna ask.
No,
I never owned this game.
but I
Interesting.
wonder if the Nintendo 64 one's even more.
I imagine it is. I think there's more fan base behind that one.
But either way, if we're
Either way.
talking about second, third mortgages, the next game in the list, you're selling fucking kidneys
Oh
for
my
this
God.
one.
This is Hagain, the final conflict.
You are a cyborg ninja! A cyborg ninja! And it's just beautifully drawn. It's an action platformer. you have your katana sword, you have your shurikens. There's a bunch of explosions in this game when you kill enemies, lots of blood. The designer is Keite Amimaya, composed by Takahito Abi, sorry. But it's just a beautiful, again, Shogun-style music, Shogun-era music in the background. It's a visually very appealing game. Like, you know what? I rented this, I think, one time when I was a kid, and I actually regret not.
You
renting
should have
or
kept
buying
it. You
more.
should have kept it.
Seriously, like, I should have. This is one of those.
A loose card
fantastic
for
games.
this goes for over $1,000.
It's such a fantastic.
It
game.
is so rare.
Yes.
Um,
They did not print a lot of these. This was near the end of the Super Nintendo, and everyone was moving on to the N64 almost at this point.
yeah.
They weren't
So-
printing like they did when Super Nintendo just came out. They weren't doing millions of copies. They're doing maybe 100,000 at a time or less, or maybe even less. I think.
Oh, less. This thing, it's lucky if it sold 10,000 copies.
Yeah, like there
So-
aren't many of these titles around.
No. So there's if you've ever seen the group on YouTube called the Game Chasers, the episode where they find this fucking cart in a thrift store for $5 fucking.
Unbelievable.
It's like you want to hate them for. I
yeah,
swear,
you want
and
to
it's-
choke them.
if it's staged, they can eat dick. But I think it's real, and I think they found this cart for $5 in a fucking thrift store. Unbelievable. I wish, but hey, we're in an era where we can use other means to play these games. This game is worth playing, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's all I have to say about it.
Next is Earthbound.
A Square Tendo game.
No,
No.
no,
Oh, sorry, Rare Tendo game.
no.
What?
This is
Rare?
Ape is the developer, but it's a Nintendo game. It's a first-party Nintendo game or second-party, whatever you
Oh,
want to
my
call
bad.
it. But
I
I think
feel
it's
shame.
Ape Software
Ape
helped
Software.
make
Okay.
it. So this, unbeknownst
this
to
wasn't
us,
successful at first.
is no, it
was
wasn't.
not successful at first.
So this is one of those weird games that came in a big box. It had the player's guide,
Like
it
a
had
big computer
scratch and
game box.
stickers, it had
A poster.
weird things,
Yeah.
and it was
They were clues.
very zany. It was a charmy, weird game, and
It was
it's a
not
role playing game.
successful at first, but you know what? That's probably one of the other most expensive games on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
It
there's
seems like that's what every game on this list is so far. But
so it did not sell great, and so they dropped the price to $50 almost immediately.
that's crazy.
And in hindsight, like you saw the stacks of them at Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I mean, because these typically go if you have everything, the box. If you have the scratch and sniff stickers, these go for stupid amounts.
10 grand.
Like 5 to 10
grand?
grand. I've heard for if you have one sealed.
10 grand.
Out of control.
easily.
What's the
It's-
deal with this game? I don't understand.
It's really
it's an RPG. It's a
funky
sleeper
and weird.
RPG. It's like a Pokemon RPG.
There are some people that consider this like 3 RPGs on the Super Nintendo. They have a fair argument. It's very odd. It's a first-person view, so it kind of plays like a dragon warrior. You don't see your own character; you just see the enemies on the screen. Has really funky, like psychedelic backgrounds. It's just a weird ass game.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
I remember actually renting this game and not having fun with it.
It's
'Cause I
the
didn't
music's
understand.
very odd.
I didn't understand the game at that age, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Honestly, I'd say it's a must play.
It's a weird point system. I didn't get it. You get points
The
in an RP. I just didn't understand.
experience points.
I didn't get it then.
Oh, okay.
It was, to me, everything was about lives and how many lives you have and what your health is. And this game's all hit points and shit.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Menuing the game. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a must play. I think I was really lucky when I found my copy. I paid under $100 for it,
Wow. That's
and
actually
now
pretty cheap,
forget it. You're paying 300 min.
At least for loose.
Is this next one a SNES or a Genesis?
Genesis game.
So this is Alien Soldier.
Really awesome music for this one.
Awesome music. It's almost boss rush. The
Yeah.
game. Every boss is massive.
Yeah.
They take up half the screen, Very funky, cool animation, like very
Absolutely.
smooth. It's Treasure. Like Treasure makes fantastic games.
Mario Party.
They
Mario
what?
Golf.
No,
What? Isn't that Treasure?
no.
I swear it is.
Treasure. They make like shoot 'em ups. So like
Oh,
Radiant
sorry.
Silvergun and Ikaruga
I'm thinking
and stuff
of-
like that.
Never mind.
No, they make like shooter style games, and they make the best ones by far. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that one.
Like Crusader.
That was I gotta look it up again, but I remember it being like an action adventure game. That's all I remember. There was not much coming out on the Genesis at this time, so like Crusader.
And this is on the Sega CDs called Earthworm Jim Special Edition.
yeah.
We all know that one.
Yeah, that's so it brought the sound is better, the animation's even better, which is impressive.
Made by Shiny. Shiny
Just-
Entertainment. Fantastic game. Probably the best version of them all, next to the computer version, you know.
Yeah. Light Crusader almost reminds me of remember the Solstice Equinox?
Yes.
It looks just like those. So action adventure, kind of isometric style. That's probably what I remember most about it.
Dungeon Explorer.
Is this a dungeon crawler game? I never heard of this one.
Yes, I believe it's a first-person crawler. If I want to, Dungeon Explorer. Yeah, they had a lot of those for the Sega CD because for whatever reason people think those are a draw.
Not always.
Not really.
No. I don't really have.
No,
any
it was a
concerns on
top-down style. Sorry, but
Top-down, okay.
yeah.
Kind of like Brain Lord a bit.
Kind of. Almost looks like more Gauntlet style.
Okay. We
But-
played Gauntlet last night.
We
Did
played
you?
Gauntlet 2 on an arcade machine.
Oh, at
Over at
Arcadium.
Arcadium in Sherwood Park.
Arcadium in Sherwood
What a
Park.
great place, man.
That Matthew guy is, man, that guy's awesome.
Who's
Yeah.
Matthew?
He's the owner. He's the so before Arcadium opened, did you ever read about the guy who had like the whole arcade above his garage?
Yes.
It used to that's him.
Yeah, man.
So he
That the long-haired dude with the beard.
yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he got
talking.
tired of people like coming to his personal property and renting out his garage. So
Yeah.
he's like, screw it, I'm just gonna open up an arcade.
He was there last
Yeah,
night.
he was.
Yeah.
Obviously, he just looked like a customer because he was just playing games. And then
One
I
of
saw
us
him.
nerds.
I saw him pulling off the glass of one of the pinball machines, and I was.
saw him?
Oh,
Did you touch him?
You were there.
Did you get an autograph?
he's a decent dude, man. When the Pinball Expo came to town, he was there like all 3 days. He was,
Yeah.
and he's an official Stern partner too. So all the brand new pinballs
Yeah.
show up there, man. Oh man,
I think I saw him at
Love
the
that place.
arcade a couple times actually.
yep. He's
It's a good chance.
what else? And then Knuckles Chaotix.
Not that great of a fucking game.
Nope.
Period.
Period. No.
Here is a perfect thing to not do with your series, and that's making Knuckles Chaotix. I hate this game. This game sucks.
Yeah,
And they
didn't
should've
didn't
never
play
done
very
it.
well.
No.
They at this point they are fully phoning it in. On the
Didn't they
Sonic.
fucking put a gator in this one?
I don't remember.
Knuckles had
I
friends.
actually never played this because it
This
was on
game
32X.
It sucked. Moving on. I hate
Yeah.
this game.
I just got Tom angry.
Okay.
Fuck this game.
This is when the first ever E3 was held, May 11th through 13th.
The gloves came off there, man.
We so early before you got here, Curtis. We were watching I don't know who on YouTube, and he actually showed the video footage of this, and it's fucking epic. Take it away, Tom.
Dude. I don't know if I can make this justice.
No, nobody can.
Like, it was just savagery. It's like high school kids. It's like a bunch of high school kids.
Yeah.
In an event, and they're like throwing snowballs at each other, man.
Well, if you
There's
can
no
think,
better way of describing it than that.
so let's just picture how can Sega fuck themselves any harder than this? So May 11th, they announce our Saturn is ready to go. It's actually built. In fact, it's on store shelves right now.
You can buy it now.
And people were like, what the fuck? It was supposed to come out 3 months later.
Yeah.
And they surprise shipped it. So retailers, half the retailers didn't even know. they weren't there yet. So people are showing up going, "Where's the Saturn?" Like, I don't fucking know. And also, the very late, same day or later that day,
The same day.
Sony has this
Same day.
conference, and
Yeah.
the one guy walks. I can't remember his name, but he walks up on stage. He just leans into the mic, real nice and quiet. $299, $100 less than the Saturn, and he just walks off the stage.
Yeah.
I
He
just
just
feel
goes
a
like
standing ovation.
that wasn't like Steve Jobs doing that, was it?
No, but he was definitely harnessing Steve Jobs' big dick energy when he
Yeah.
pulled it off, because that's all he
Big
said.
dick player.
And then he
swinging
took
past
his
the knees.
paper and we walked off the stage, and people were just like
They were
shocked
clapping.
and like
They were clapping.
they were shocked and
Yeah.
silence at first, and then all of a sudden like, whoa, fuck yeah! Like, that's all you could hear in the crowd, right? Like,
One guy goes,
and then it just erupted. The whole fucking place was like, "Are you kidding me?" So $100 cheaper. Sony straight up said, "We're here, and we're gonna fucking bury you,"
Yeah.
and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened over the course of the next couple years. But yeah, Nintendo showed up though. Nintendo was no slouch at E3 either. They showed Donkey Kong Country 2 among other games that were going to come out, and like they blew doors open. Rare had its own booth, and people couldn't believe the stuff Rare was doing. Like it was a big first, you know. Like this is probably one of those events where finally game developers can come out and showcase what they can do. Before, you weren't really allowed to really do that. It would be just the game company coming out, but now, sorry, not game company. Now, back then it would just be the console company that would come out, like Nintendo or Sega. But now you would have Activision booths. You would have Rare booths.
because
you
it's
know, like-
it's a burgeoning, or
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a new industry, and so you have to have an expo for that industry.
they were almost like musicians at this point.
Well, we only
You
had
know?
the Consumer Electronics Show before that.
That's right.
And they really didn't
do
care
that.
about gaming.
No one gave a shit. They wanted people who went there it was for home entertainment systems and
Yeah.
TVs. They didn't really give a shit about Atari and Nintendo. That was for kids, so they wouldn't showcase that. This was the first time where they showed everything that people our age back then was looking forward to.
Well, they did show
And adults went there.
they showed
Like-
Amiga PCs
Yeah.
and well, you know, Radio Shack would show up with Tandies. You
Yeah.
know. And
Those were
fucking,
awful.
and then, you know, like Texas Instruments was showing off their new graphing
Yeah.
calculators. Nobody gave a shit about gaming.
No.
But E3 was absolutely that outlet.
Yeah,
and
it was
it
the first.
exploded.
And it's still a big deal to this day. Like I think it gone even bigger than it did back in the 90s.
Yeah, and that a lot of it was helped by that drama that Sony just
Yeah.
absolutely fucking shaded
This was
Sega.
birthed. It's pretty crazy. This is like a nerd, quote unquote, heavy metal show that was birthed from hatred between two companies. How many times can you say that?
No, they were all. It was an epic moment.
Yeah.
And me.
It got so big, people wanted to show off what they could do. So that's how it
I
came
mean,
to,
it
right?
it made up my mind right there. I was absolutely not gonna bother with a Saturn from
Yeah.
that weekend.
Yeah.
From that weekend, I was like, nope, I'm out.
That's because
I'll-
no one ever heard of Sony, but Sony made TVs and stereos.
Yeah.
Like and
And-
receivers and shit, you know, and
Well, and-
automobile stereos and shit. They weren't known as a freaking console game company
No.
at all.
And keep in mind, this whole thing was from Nintendo fucking them. So that's why they were coming out with it. But this is 95, and I didn't bother with it till 97. We'll know why in a bit.
And also because like Sony at this point, they only made the SSMP chip for Super Nintendo. They helped Nintendo with the original audio hardware. They never done anything for Sega, and I believe they also had a company called Sony Soft before it was the Sony PlayStation
Computer
brand.
Entertainment
Yeah,
Division.
it was
Yeah.
Sony Soft, and they helped
Sony
develop
ImageSoft.
games. ImageSoft, thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was, and this is a very big first, and this can't go understated. Like it's
Oh, we'll talk about them later, though, for
Yeah.
sure.
anyway. Moving
Before we go into the next quarter of 1995, I was wondering if I may have one of those nice.
Oh,
beers
yeah,
you
of
have over
course.
there.
We are going to crack into a Cabin Brewing.
My goodness.
Little
It's,
shout out for
it's
them.
12 p.m. on the dot. So
This
it's
is
beer
a
time.
Private Universe New England IPA.
Cabin Brewing out of Calgary.
Yes. So they also known as New England IPA number 172 by these guys because they make a lot of them, but
Wow.
they make them very well.
It is actually.
I'm not
quite
throwing
tasty.
shade. They make them very well.
What you have a special pilsner there you're drinking, Lauren?
This was Snake Lake from
I love that brand.
from Sylvan Lake. They make a goddamn good pilsner.
They
And
make
this
the
is
best
a
fucking pilsner ever.
Kennebec pilsner is outstanding.
Fucking changed
this
my mind.
is not that. This is a Bohemian Czech pilsner.
It's like a
So,
skunky European pilsner.
work hard, drink easy. 4.6%. For you brewing nerds out there, it's 37 IBUs, 1048 starting gravity, 1013 final gravity, and the color is 7 on the SRM scale.
Oh, it didn't drop down that much.
It's delicious.
Yeah. I wish there was a second one.
Very floral.
Yeah, Tom and I saw that can. We're like, oh, do you have more? Please,
the
Lauren.
Do you more? Do you
The
more?
first day I was like, do you have a
Snake
second one?
Lake. Well, and we got here at like 9, so we couldn't even go to the liquor store to get more because they're not open.
Where did you buy that one?
I got that out of Spirits on 101 in Fort Saskatchewan. Pallavi,
a hell of
she's
a drive from here.
outstanding.
We're just south of the Yellowhead and 60th Street here. so-
Yeah, I think your best bet's probably East Side Sherbrooke. Wouldn't
What?
it be?
That's still a good drive. from
East
here.
Side Sherbrooke.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
there's
have-
one
they
on
have a second
50
one now.
There's one on 50th Street now.
No.
Yes.
50th Street, what avenue?
Like Capilano-ish,
just
isn't it?
south of fucking. Sorry, just north of White Mud.
After all these years, they
That
finally
far
opened a
south?
second store.
Yeah, that far south.
Oh, okay. Well, original
it's
Sherbrooke.
it's close to Kingsway University, Kingsman University,
King's University
King's
College.
University. It's just south of there.
So
Okay,
Capilano.
that's like 90th
Around
Ave.
there. Yeah, around there.
90th Ave.
Yeah, I just saw it. It's huge. It's huge.
Non-Edmontonians are like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
man?"
Okay, hang on. How many
Anyway.
beers? How many beers does the original Schlicker have?
Oh God,
Well over 1,000.
1,000,
Right?
Yes.
over 1,000 at least.
Over 1,000 different beers.
it's
Yeah.
tight in there, man. You they have so many shelves in there. You
Mhm.
have to like eeky past people when you're.
Yeah, one-way traffic.
Yeah,
And not
it's-
because of COVID, because there's no space.
There's just nowhere to walk around people. Yeah, that place is
Moving on.
candy store, man.
Moving on
Um,
from Sherwood.
I also apologize. I farted aggressively when we were talking about this, so enjoy that. And there's no airflow in here, I can
Nothing.
tell. If you'd like, you can turn on the ventilation, but I guess you like smelling your own farts and breath.
I like
July
other
to
people's
September
brands.
1995.
Yes.
The first game is Wild Guns.
What a
one-
fucking awesome game.
The first 7 games are going to be Super Nintendo. The remaining are
Okay.
Sega.
Right.
Wild Guns, super fucking fun.
First person's perspective, Western shoot 'em up.
2-player.
Yeah.
That's important. One of those games where if you were lucky enough to rent it on a Friday, you were having the best fucking weekend ever.
I believe this one's also made by Konami.
This is a sleepover game.
It's come on, can Curtis come over to sleep
Yeah.
over? Mom, can Curtis come over?
Dad, Mom said it was okay with her if it was okay with you.
We're gonna
Mom,
play
Dad said it
Wild
was
Guns and
okay
drink
with him
Mountain
if it's
Dew and
okay
eat
with
pizza.
you.
We're gonna eat cheezies and we're gonna wipe the cheezies on the side of our jeans.
Hawkins cheesies, motherfucker.
That's made by Konami, right?
Yes.
What a great game. This is so much fun.
It's just one of those games that you can blow a whole weekend on
Yeah,
it.
it's a Western and there's a futuristic cyborg machines in it that you end up shooting. A lot of fun.
Yep.
That's all I really have to say about it.
We wanted to talk about Sunset Riders again just because I guess so fucking epic.
Every time I think about anything Western for Super Nintendo, the first game I think about is Sunset Riders. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm always, what's the game? Cormano or Bob. Because I like the dual shotguns in the game.
Yeah.
What a great game.
But Wild Guns is best way I can describe it for young people right now is like,
It's like a rail
imagine
shooter.
Fortnite. Like you see your own character, but you still move your reticle
I don't
around
even
the
know what
screen.
Fortnite is. I'm
Oh,
so out of
fuck.
touch. I don't even know what that is.
It's
Is it like
it's
Divinity?
cancer is what it is. It's
It's
essentially
cancerous.
toxic.
Is
toxic
Fortnite also
waste.
from Blizzard?
No, it's from Epic.
But the equivalent to Fortnite in today's era is Divinity from Blizzard, right?
Thing that's closest to I don't know, man. There's really nothing like it's a battle royale, 100 people out on an island, and the storm closes in, kind
And
of like Player
Warzone?
Unknown Battlegrounds or whatever,
Uh-huh.
or Warzone from
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty,
Oh,
Apex something.
Yeah,
and it's like an RPG thing.
No.
It's straight up shooter.
shooter.
Like first person shooter.
Yeah, but like
style.
how every single shooter now is all customizable, and buy this little thingy and buy this little thingy.
That's the one thing about Fortnite is it's all cosmetic. So there's nothing that actually gives you an in-game advantage.
Uh-huh.
It's still you got to land and find guns and
Oh,
kill everybody else. Be the sole survivor.
well, that's nice. Now, going on to Ninja Gaiden Trilogy.
I own this game and I loved it.
And
I
you're fucking wrong.
I had so much fun with this game. It's all 3 Ninja Gaiden games from the original Nintendo with spruced up graphics.
So that's Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden 2, and Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ancient Ship of Doom.
yes.
What a fucking name.
Yes, the Ancient Ship of Doom, probably the most difficult of the 3, and I can't say anything bad about it. I loved the newer graphics of it. I thought it was very visually appealing. It was very fast to me still on Super Nintendo, but I know that's not how everybody felt about this game.
Who did not feel like that?
I don't know. How about you tell me,
Fucking
Lauren?
anyone that played the originals. Anyone that played the NES versions.
I don't feel like there was that much slowdown.
It just plays worse. It plays worse. Absolutely. There is lag like a motherfucker. How is that possible on a system that's like 20 times more powerful than the original NES?
You know what?
How?
I'm gonna have to play it again.
You
just
do,
so-
and you have to play them side by side. You got to do the like
Okay, yeah.
Ninja Gaiden and then the remake
That'd be
trilogy
the proper way of
shite.
doing it.
That said, this game is stupid expensive for some reason.
I love this game.
That's one of the first ones I remember walking into like Next Wave in Edmonton and
Yeah.
going like, "Holy shit, why is that like $400?"
But this is one of those great Tecmo games. It's like Tecmo does good games.
They do
Tell
great
me-
games. They do
tell me one-
shitty fucking
Tell me one game Tecmo did that is shitty.
None.
Can you even think of one off the top of your head?
Ninja Gaiden trilogy.
Oh, that's not fair.
It's terrible. It's
Okay.
it plays like shit.
Well, I really
it-
liked it. So
I
I,
mean,
guess
I appreciated
this
that
is
they
maybe probably
attempted
one
it.
of the first games that we disagree on.
No, we disagreed on Mega Man Wily Wars as well
Oh,
because
that's
I thought
right.
that was
okay.
a cool idea,
No, I think it's so dumb.
and but it's the exact same fucking thing.
It's not.
It's the first
exact
3
same
Mega
thing,
Mans, but worse.
but with bad controls.
Yes.
So it's not
Go
the same
on.
thing. Okay, I see.
You're
your
saying the
fucking
same
point.
shit.
I see your point now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
And next is something I'm actually familiar with, and that's
my God.
called a Chrono Trigger.
Square Nintendo.
So-
Square Nintendo.
You can tell that we are Canadian at this point because we all call
Nintendo!
it Chrono Trigger. We all call it Chrono Trigger, right?
Yeah.
Americans call it Chrono. I don't know why.
Oh, they're idiots.
So yeah,
I mean, as far as spelling.
Yeah.
That particular title. Let me just.
well, and fractions.
Hot take.
Fucking
Hot-
grow up already with your fractions. No, it's Chrono Trigger is one of the greatest games ever made.
I love it.
That's all. That's really all I have to say about it. It's everybody
the
else
music
will
is fantastic.
will go on for hours about this game. I don't
You're right,
need to.
but
It's
it's just like the character development is amazing. The four. I love the
No-
backgrounds to this game.
no random encounters.
None.
All the encounters happen on screen, and you
For a
can,
reason.
you know they're coming, or you can avoid them if you want to. It's outstanding. The contents of the chests can change based on when you open them in the timeline.
Yeah.
There's 13 endings, and there's another Edmonton-based podcaster out there who kind of shit on this game, talking about how he's never gonna want to play all 13 endings. And I'm talking Adam Blank. And I mean, yeah, but you could actually see all 13 endings in 2 playthroughs.
Yeah.
So you don't have to replay it a million times, right? It's I mean, many people will put it as their number one Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
And I can't fault
Yeah.
them for it.
Yeah. And I know I said Square Tendo, but I do believe this is the very first merger of Square and Enix.
No,
working on
that's
a-
forever in the future.
Oh, is it?
Long in the
Okay.
future.
Well, this is a Square and Enix.
That's
game.
like PlayStation 2 era.
Yeah.
When they Square and Enix joined.
No, Square and Enix also worked on this one.
No.
Really?
Very no.
So just Square.
This is the one thing about Chrono Trigger is everyone from the Final Fantasy VI team came to help finish this game. What the one collaboration that you're thinking is Akira Toriyama did all the character artwork. So the guy who
Okay.
does Dragon Quest and Dragon Ball Z
Okay.
did
So they had the one artist come down.
Dragon Ball Z.
Said.
Zed.
I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. What is Square Tendo?
Oh,
The only game that's Square Tendo is Super Mario RPG. That's it.
Yeah, it's like a Nintendo Square RPG based game, which this kind of
Nintendo Square what? Square
like made
Squaresoft, the company.
Squaresoft.
So they turned into Square Enix. They make Final Fantasy.
Okay.
They made just trying to think of other Final Fantasy Legend, Final Fantasy Adventure, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy.
You didn't do the Resident Evil series as well.
No, it was Capcom. You're killing me. Fucking killing me, Smalls.
You're killing me, Small.
Fuck.
Let's move on.
Move
Yes.
on. It's a good game.
Okay. Killer Instinct.
I love the music.
Uh,
to
this-
The
this game-
intro to it is so heavy metal, man.
This game came out on my birthday, and
Dude.
yeah,
Heavy metal of a game. That's
So-
all I can say. This game is heavy metal.
I'm good at the Super Nintendo version. It's great. It plays great. Having I think Jago has like a 23 hit combo. Like the combo, like the ultra combos are so fucking
Who's your favorite character?
killer. I'm still a Fulgar guy.
Yeah?
I loved him
I'm a
he,
Cinder dude.
because he played like Cinder was fucking cool.
Yeah.
But Fulgar played like Ryu and Ken.
Yeah.
And I was always a Ryu guy, right?
A great
So-
game by Rare. Just fantastic. Fantastic. Donkey Kong Country
We-
style 3D.
Yeah, I mean, we have to mention it's upcoming. This game was what showed off the Ultra 64 in the arcade,
Yeah.
which would eventually become Nintendo 64.
That's true. It was a standalone arcade machine.
But it was called Project Reality
yes.
early on, and when we saw this in the arcade, we were like, "What the
Blown the
fuck
fuck
is
away.
this?"
It's like Street Fighter multiplied by 100, man.
But like the zoom out and zoom in was
Yeah.
just like,
It's
fuck,
insane.
nothing looked like this. Like, absolutely blown minds in the arcade.
Great game. Love it.
Yeah.
The next one is Dracula X.
This is a how do I say this nice? This is a shitty version of the PC Engine Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which is
Yes.
probably one of the greatest Castlevanias ever made. This is the shitty version of it.
Yeah.
That said, it's still a good game.
It is.
It's a great game. It's just not even close to Rondo of Blood. It took out a lot of the branching paths. It took out a lot of the bosses. Actually dumbed down the difficulty a bit, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Because it's still a fucking hard game. But it's Castlevania. But we went from Super Castlevania with being able to whip anywhere you
Super
wanted.
Castlevania 4. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
Like that whip had 360 degree control. It was phenomenal. And then you went back to just jumping
Yeah.
and slashing dead straightforward.
Yeah,
It,
Konami
it
kind of
was a
dropped the
step
ball on this
it
one.
felt like a step backwards to us. So
Yeah.
that's why we kind
Yeah,
of
I agree.
wrote
I
it
agree.
off. Unfortunate.
Konami fucked it up. But that's okay. Moving
That
on.
said, it's still a great game.
Moving on. That game's it's decent.
This must be the first iteration of Doom.
This is Doom, and if you were lucky, you had one of the red carts before they started making them gray again.
Yeah.
Because those red carts are going
Cool.
for a lot of money nowadays.
Oh, they're
The
fucking cool, man. There's only
probably the
two red
best-
carts.
best version of Doom with the best music. The
Yeah.
music is fucking
is-
so Black
What is
Sabbath,
the
man.
other red card?
Maximum Carnage, isn't
Maximum
it?
Carnage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Maximum
a
Carnage.
Spider-Man and Venom game.
Oh,
Very cool game. Music's good. You can you play 4 players on this one?
I
Can someone look
think
that up?
Two player?
Can somebody look that up? Because if
Yeah, I'm gonna look.
you know
Doom
what,
SNES.
if that's 4 players, I need to get that because that would be a hell of a way to play it. But I think you're right. It's probably just 2 players.
we play. There's an emulator on your console that we
Yeah.
use, and you and I have played Doom, and we played for like 15 minutes, and we're like, it's kind of hard.
It's very hard. we did not fare well.
But the opening screen is entertaining enough because
Yeah.
of good music.
It's very hard hitting music.
Super Nintendo version of Doom was published by Williams.
Pinball manufacturer, arcade manufacturer.
Mortal Kombat.
Well, yeah, among games too.
Cartridge used the Super... What?
What?
It used the Super FX2 chip.
What?
So this thing ran at 20 megahertz.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
For Doom. Well, that
The
would
colored
make sense.
cartridge.
Because it's a
blah,
3D
blah,
first-person
blah.
game.
Does not use the Doom engine, but features a custom engine known as the Reality engine. 22 levels from the PC engine, blah, 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 blah. Multiplayer was available if you had the X-band modem. That's it.
Only. So one player only.
I think it was 4-player deathmatch if you had.
X-Band.
Quake was better anyway.
Well,
I
Quake
am one
never
of those
came-
kids. Quake was the greatest fucking game I've ever played. For like multiplayer arena
You're just
battle.
one of them nail gun fucks, aren't you?
No.
No.
Yeah, a little.
Okay, moving on.
Next one is Mega Man 7.
A fantastic release to the original series of Mega Man, which they stopped with Mega Man 6 on original Nintendo. They thought that they should do another classic continuation to the original series. I actually really liked this game. I rented it several times. I thought it looked very pretty, and I thought it was like you could tell the difference between Mega Man X and the original Mega Man series at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for
The-
me, may I introduce?
Yeah.
So Mega Man X2 that came out earlier in the year was on the SNES, and
Yes.
then Mega Man 7 is on the Genesis.
It's also on the Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
the Mega Man 7.
What's the difference between the two?
Play style. So what you'll hear quite often, they'll call them Classic Series, which this is, or X Series, which is much more controlled, dashing, wall jumping, stuff like that. It's a much more like control capable game. Mega Man 7 is a classic style Mega Man, which is just running and shooting, and you can still do like the down a dashing, whatever,
the
sliding.
quick
I think they
slide.
call it.
Yeah.
But
That's
it's a much, and this is the one knock I'm actually going to give Mega Man 7. Well, there's two.
Great
One
music in it.
feels like a step backwards after the X series,
Yeah.
but that's unfair because the game it's excellent in its own right for its own style, which is the classic style.
Yeah.
Two, the fucking in between like scenes. Could
They're
you
long.
speed that fucking text
They're
up?
long.
Like
no-
that's how slow it writes out the
remember
words, and
mashing
you're like,
start.
fucking
Like, come
just.
on.
Hey, I mean, some kids that age had a reading speed of that.
But like the whole time you're like, and it like it used to be like Mega Man gains Heat Man,
Yeah.
right? And it was like doom doom do 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 do, right? And then you just hit start and go to the next level. This, like Dr. Light and Mega Man have a fucking dissertation with each other about. That's not all. Oh, there's more. Fuck.
It takes forever. You know what? And I do agree with you there. That's the one flaw with this game is that it's literally either pick this or pick PlayStation load time. It's about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Because
So-
PlayStation load time takes forever, and for this to for the in-scene cinematics, it does take forever. So I do agree with you on that one.
So that's all the Super Nintendo stuff. Everything else is going to be Genesis, Sega CD, or Saturn for
Yeah.
this quarter.
Let's do it.
Okay, this next one is Comics Zone.
I love this fucking game. My friend across from my street back out east owned a Sega Genesis in this game. We played this all the fucking time. All the time.
This is the one game, like one of those iconic Genesis games where Super Nintendo fanboys were like, "Fuck, we missed
What a
out on that
great
one, man."
game. It's like a final fight, scroller beat 'em up where you're basically fighting your way through a comic book page, and you know how every square would have a scene and someone
The
talks?
thick white border, he
Yeah.
would like jump across it,
or
or
rip
he would,
through it, or
like
kick
he would
through it.
hang and go down to the next
Yeah.
panel below him, like.
So
And the art style was like super fucking like
very cool.
comic coloring, like that very iconic.
Who made that game?
You have to look it up,
Okay, I'm looking.
but
I love this game. Like
the art style is just absolutely nailed. This game is so cool and hard, man, balls hard.
Also an expensive game nowadays.
Oh my
There's
God.
a lot of guys I know that
I had
never beat the
You
first
just,
level.
I had a dream about my testicles last night.
Testicles?
Yeah, my nuts. Like I dreamt that one of my nuts was hanging really low, and then what happened was like my other nut like kind of got dislodged.
Yeah.
And it was
Come
like
on now.
And now it was like kind of like hanging out with the left nut. like, they're
Migrating
both-
over to like.
Yeah, and then one of them was actually like kind of like churning into something else. It was like taking over my left nut. My right nut was transforming into something else, and it was like hanging really low.
What do
And
you think that means? Like if you could dissect that,
It probably means that I'm playing with my balls too much.
and they were like hanging really low. Maybe were you hot?
Well, I think
Like-
they were dislodged. Like they're just kind of broken.
What the fuck?
I don't know. You just triggered my testicle dream.
Okay, that's enough. So anyway, Comic Zone was made by Sega Technical Industries, and it actually came also with a bonus.
Okay, so that was like it's
In-house.
another name for Sonic Team.
Yeah, like they were. It was the team that was in development to be hired to make games for them. It was their university students.
Yeah, they also made Sonic 3 and
is that right?
and Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah,
Well, this one also came with a bonus CD when it was released.
cool.
So when you bought this, you had the CD of the whole game.
I absolutely didn't buy this. I
Neither
rented
did I.
it.
But it was a cool game. Moving on.
Yeah,
Sega CD, Lunar Eternal Blue.
This one's a hell of a hitter.
yeah. Full voice acting, like super cool.
And you can actually hear their
Um,
voices, which is
Turn-based RPG style. So menu comes up, fight, magic,
Yeah.
item.
typical.
There you could have like 8 or 9 enemies on the screen at a time, like which was so much more than we were used to with like Final Fantasy style. You got like maybe 3 or 4 enemies. It was wildly expensive now. And they released them on PlayStation later, and they're significantly better on the PlayStation. Better sound, better everything. So unfortunately, the Sega CD's versions just kind of went by the wayside. But great game.
This next one's on the Saturn. It's called Shinobi Legions.
This one sucked.
And it's by far the best looking Shinobi I've ever. Like, it's better looking than all of them.
It had like a fake digitized dude instead of it being a sprite, correct?
No, this is like true Shinobi style.
Oh, okay.
By far the best looking Shinobi. I played it at a friend's house, but I put it in the list because it stuck in my brain. I loved this game when it came out.
Oh yeah, I do see that it's actually very well done. Never mind, I take back what I
Oh,
said. I
and
really
it's
don't know anything about this game.
smooth. Like the frame rate is outstanding on it. There weren't a ton of like well programmed Saturn games. You'll see that in like '97, but the ones that were good, man, were they good.
Okay, well that's all I have to say about that one. Let's move on.
Also on the Saturn
Oh.
was a stall.
So
Never heard of
this
it.
is widely considered the best looking 2D game ever made.
well,
ever
what is
made.
it about?
You saw a little bit of footage. It was that star dude running and like
Oh yeah, the pretty looking platformer.
yeah.
game.
So like the colors in this thing are like almost at the point of saturation on the screen. It's
Yeah.
like it
Yeah,
will
'cause
give
back
your
then you were
corneas.
using, what is it? The 3 colors for what is it? Yellow.
Like for TV,
Yeah, sorry. green,
blue,
red,
red, green, blue. Yeah. And it's
Very pretty
RGB. It is unbelievable. Actually, give your cones. Like you have to take a break from playing this because
Yeah.
it's so colorful.
I gotta go out and get some air.
But like gameplay wise, it's
is
a
it
a
an
basic
expensive game?
platformer. Yes.
It is.
Everything on Saturn is expensive.
Okay.
Unfortunately. That's why I have a Japanese one because the games are
Yes,
significantly cheaper.
I did find that too. That Japanese consoles and Japanese games are significantly cheaper than by
Yes.
the American counterpart.
Like
American
there was a time. When was that? Like 2014 or so, when our money was like on par with
Yeah,
America.
Yeah, that's right.
Holy shit! Was I saving money? Like
Dude, I cleaned house on
It was
eBay.
like $6 shipping from Japan to here.
Yeah.
And it was like 7 days.
Yeah, so fast.
Like I don't. Oh man, I don't know.
Ah,
Like
the good old days.
they have the greatest shipping system in the world. And
Moving
Canada
on.
doesn't.
Moving on.
Okay, we're on the fourth quarter of 1995. This is October to December. And we're back onto the Snes games, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Secret of
Whoa,
Evermore.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, yeah. In between this, the PlayStation does launch in September.
Yeah. What are the release games, and are any of them actually any decent?
Ridge Racer was fucking
What a
outstanding.
great series.
Outstanding. Ridge Racer. Fuck that guy.
Cynosis is actually the company that starts off releasing games for the PlayStation because they were immediately involved right
And
off the bat.
they were the ones that said, why the fuck are we developing all these games in like assembly and this shit programming language? Why don't we do it in C+?
Yeah.
And why are we using
And that
these like
changed everything.
$50,000 development
Yeah.
PC? Why don't we use
Gigantic computers.
Why don't we just use home PCs?
Yeah.
And Sony, like Ken Kutaragi,
Yeah.
went back to them
That's
and
right.
went, "Fuck, that's brilliant. Let's do that."
Yeah.
And boom, overnight, guys were developing games like at home. They weren't pigeoned and limited by what the hardware, like Sega and Nintendo at the time.
Yeah.
You had to have actual development kits. The PlayStation was developed almost entirely on home PCs.
Absolutely. You could actually buy. You can still to this day actually buy a computer with and the hardware to make games for the PlayStation.
And that was called the PSX.
absolutely.
That was, yeah.
And it cannot go understated how many games PlayStation released within their first quarter. We're talking about like at least over 50.
Yes.
And Cynosis also made one of the best heavy hitting, almost like a package game, but not really. It was called Destruction Derby.
Yeah.
And that game,
game was
was
kick-ass.
amazing, especially if you have fond memories of like the demo at Costco or something, and you have like the circular derby bowl, and everybody crashes into each other. Like awesome game. A bunch of developers eventually signed on Sony, but the reason it took a bit for developers and publishers to go over to Sony is that they still had legal rights with Nintendo, and they were waiting for their contract to expire with Nintendo. And as well, same thing with Sega and the developers for Sega, because they still had binding contracts and they couldn't just make games for another company until that expired. That's why some of these games companies, they were on a contract for a 2-quarter year or a year contract. They weren't doing multiple years back then. If you were doing that, you were getting a shit ton of cash, and that wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
People weren't tying in their companies yet, kind of like what would happen during the Xbox and Sony days.
Yeah.
That wasn't
And
a thing yet.
it's important to note, so the Saturn released in May, and this is September 9th? And by September 11th, the PlayStation had outsold the Saturn.
Yeah, that fast.
In 2 days, they outsold the months that the Saturn was on.
And we're not talking about a couple consoles. We're talking about like
Yeah.
we're talking about thousands and thousands of consoles.
So
within a
we're
matter
not
of
going to
days.
talk about games either, because the PlayStation 1 had more games than every Nintendo console and handheld up to today.
Yeah.
At this
Thousands.
point, even with the Switch releases, and I'm not counting all the homebrew
Yeah,
shit,
the hacks and whatnot.
there's more games on the PlayStation 1. It's like, I think 3,000 and something games. There's more games on the PS1 than there were every Nintendo console that's ever been made.
Yeah.
All added up together. That's a fuck ton of games.
CDs. It was cheap.
Yep.
People knew how to use
Well,
the
and
hardware.
the developers, it only cost them like $10 to put the game out. It cost them $30 to put a Nintendo 64 cart out. So there's your profit margin.
Yeah.
So I mean, the writing's on the wall. They were going to disc. But yeah, that's it. That's all. We just had to mention PlayStation came out.
Okay, fourth quarter of 95. Secret of Evermore.
What a great 3-person RPG game.
2.
Oh, isn't this?
There's only the boy and the dog.
Oh,
so
sorry, I'm thinking
Secret of Mana.
Of Mana. My
Yeah.
bad.
So same engine,
Yeah.
built by or coded by Nasir, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He's a French or Spanish guy. I can't remember.
NX game, right?
Squaresoft.
Squaresoft.
This,
right?
I believe, this is one of the first games that's actually called. No, that's Secret of Mana. Never mind. It's a Squaresoft game.
Squaresoft game.
Yeah.
Great RPG, great soundtrack. Back in the times of lore.
Very ambient.
Yes.
like the soundtrack.
Yep.
And it's super cool. Like your dog, every chapter essentially of the game, your dog transforms, like evolves into a new dog, and it has like new attacks and like new stats. It's pretty cool. And then the very last one, your dog's like he's a toaster.
What?
He's a robot toaster dog. He's
Yeah.
fucking cute. But there's, yeah, like you start in the prehistorics, and then you go like to the, I can't remember the era, but like there's a Colosseum. That's super cool. So you're almost like the Roman times, and then there's, like the deep future, not the present. It's a super cool game.
It is good.
It doesn't have magic. It has alchemy.
This
right.
kind of sounds like Adventure Time.
Yeah.
It's not too far off. Yeah, pretty much.
And he quotes like really cheesy B flick horror movies, and he's like, like they said in this movie title, like we're not in somewhere anymore, right? But it's not Kansas. It's just a fun campy game. Same deal. I think it was Ted Woolsey translated it in like a fucking week or something. That guy's a
the
genius,
man
man.
to hire.
That guy was a genius.
Moving
Super
on.
Mario Bros. 2, Yoshi's Island.
I love this fucking game. This is probably one of my favorite Mario games, man. Just the whole controls and how they reinvented the game once again is just so well done. Because you expected just to be Mario and run and jump, but no. Now you're playing as fucking lackey Yoshi.
And, well, multiple Yoshis.
Yeah.
Because at the end of every level, you hand off Baby Mario onto
Yeah,
the
man.
next.
You can shoot eggs.
Let's get the one
fuck?
negative out of the way on this game.
Okay.
That fucking baby. Every time
Oh,
you get
that
hit,
annoying cry.
Shut the
I'm getting there.
fuck
Shut the fuck
up.
Shut the fuck up.
That's every fucking game.
swear to God, I'm gonna kill this fucking thing.
That's it. That's fucking. And
Sometimes I let the birds.
the
carry
only
away
other
'cause I'm
is
so pissed
the only
off.
other is when you're trying to get 100% everything,
Yeah.
and you get fucking knocked off right before the end of the level, and now you have to go back and find more stars to get back up to 30 because of fucking baby. But otherwise, this game is phenomenal.
It's
The
a great
boss
game.
fights are so fucking
I love the music.
ingenious. They're
The
inventive.
controls is great,
Everything about the game is awesome.
and it's all made by Nintendo.
And there's two different control styles. You can do like the press the button once and press it again, or you can change it to like press and hold
Yeah,
and really like, so whatever
they
your
really-
style is, you like it.
and you can save on the cart.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Multiple files even. If you wanted to play a different game, you could. And save it on a
yeah.
different file. Kind of like Zelda.
Like Mario World had that too, right? But
Yeah.
3 different save files, and Zelda had 3, and
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool.
Great game.
Awesome
Moving
game.
on.
Mortal Kombat 3.
Mortal Kombat! Probably the best Mortal Kombat game that came out. MK3. All
Best
the
controlling.
characters, best controls. All the babalities, fatalities, friendshipalities, everything. Everything. You had like over 30
Ultimate Mortal
characters
Kombat
and
3,
shit, you know?
It was good.
Yeah, like just it looked good. All digitized actors still. The music's just like what you remember it from MK2. It's the exact same controls and feel with more multiple level breakdowns. Now, if you uppercut somebody too hard or you punch them down, it'll go to a subway station. If you knock them down too hard, it'll go to another level if you uppercut them. Just very fucking cool. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could even picked multiple characters to combat. You can switch in between, but once one character died, you would go to another character. I'm not too sure, though.
I don't remember that part.
But fantastic.
It's probably the best
game.
controlling Mortal Kombat, and I have
Still
not
made
kept
by
up.
Still made by Midway. Fantastic game.
Still by Ed Boon and
Yeah.
John Tobias. Yep.
Yeah, great game. That's all I have to say. Better in the arcade. Good port to the home console.
Yeah. Moving on.
Super Turrican 2.
Great soundtrack.
Yes.
Awesome visuals, bigger guns, bigger explosions, more electrifying, just all better around version of Super Turrican. We've had Super Turrican, we had Mega Turrican, we had Turrican. This is Super Turrican 2.
That's everything you need to say about it.
Earthworm Jim 2.
Fantastic fucking game. Just a great sequel altogether. Different levels. You have you can switch guns in this one.
I was gonna say,
press
like,
select and switch through your fucking guns.
the weapon
cool.
switching was fucking
Like
Hell
that's
yeah.
probably what makes this game stand out to me is that you could go through different guns throughout the game.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, hang on, wasn't there an Earthworm Jim 1
That was
earlier
the
in
Sega
year?
CD version of Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. So
This is the sequel to Earthworm Jim.
obviously it's the second one. So I'm saying like
The fucking look on his face. Oh, sorry. It's shame it's a podcast, not a video cast right now. Fuck. That was good.
I'm just trying to understand here, like they manufactured a sequel in the same year.
Yes. So the Sega CD version came out way later. So it was like late '94 that Earthworm Jim came out on Super Nintendo and Genesis,
Okay.
and then the Sega CD version came out later. They were behind,
Yeah.
and then
Huh.
Earthworm Jim 2 came out only a few months later, like 6 months later.
Less, but yeah.
But yeah, Sega CD was always behind on getting their versions. Yep,
Yep.
Okay.
he's chewing on that one for a sec.
DKC 2.
Donkey Kong Country 2. What a great fucking game.
I still think
probably like
the
this
best
better-
one
I prefer playing this one over the first one.
and the third one.
Yeah.
I like
this
this
is
one
my
more.
favorite one.
I think it's more because the third one you're fucking stuck with Diddy Kong again.
Yeah.
To me, So, but two is beautiful.
Great game. Awesome soundtrack made by David Wise. The guy you want to do your music. The guy with over 1,000 titles under his name.
Yeah, was it
The
Sticker
great-
Stickerbush Symphony was on the last
man.
one, right? It was
Yeah,
on one.
So good.
So it's the underwater in two that's like the killer fucking song in this game.
You know what? I can't think of a single soundtrack that isn't good in the second one.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
Cool ass game.
Cool ass
Breath
game.
of Fire 2.
Fucking awesome RPG.
So we're actually gonna disagree on this a bit.
What? I love this
One,
RPG.
the translation is fucking trash,
Okay.
and part of that is Square didn't bring this game over so Breath of Fire 1, Capcom had no interest in releasing it, and Square approached them and said, "What if we translated it for you, and then published it in the States for you, right? And then we just pay you a royalty." And they said, "Give her." Then they realized, oh shit, that game actually sold really well. We're gonna do it ourselves for the second one, and their translation was absolutely phoned in. It's English. It's terrible. So the game has a better art style, but I don't know. I just don't enjoy it as much as the first one.
Okay.
The first one, like, depending on who was in the front of your party on the overworld, you could like hunt animals, you could unlock doors, you could
Yeah.
go underwater. Like, it was really cool. And I don't know, just the second one lost luster to me. for some
this
reason.
one made by Square, I believe.
Capcom.
Oh, I did it again.
Fuck.
I did it again.
We're not on the like if this goes on YouTube and we have the corrections underneath. Let's not, because the comments section will be way too long.
I'll just
But
turn off
yeah,
the comment
great
section.
RPG.
Final Fight 3.
Great beat 'em up. Finally, the sequel to a two-player beat 'em up. That's the sequel to the best two-player beat 'em up released by Super Nintendo, next to Super Double Dragon and Ninja Turtles 4 and Sunset Riders. This is probably the next best one.
Turtles in Time.
I put this one up there. With
This
Turtles
one
in
I
Time.
put up there. It still doesn't touch Streets of Rage bag.
Yeah.
It couldn't even scratch the scrotum of Streets of Rage 2. The
but This
best.
one was good.
But this is close. Like, at
Yeah.
least Super Nintendo has a legitimate
This is a
beat 'em.
contender.
Like, this is
It's
a contender.
And made by Capcom. A fantastic game.
Yes.
Game made and developed by Capcom. Anyway,
Okay, Vector Man.
awesome 3D base style 2D platformer for Sega Genesis. I think it's even made in house, which makes it even more.
The same guy that developed
insane.
Echo the Dolphin made
Yeah.
this. This is butter smooth animation. It's insane how smooth the
Like
animation is in
Donkey
this
Kong
game.
Country style.
Like more. It looks like 800 frames per second. It looks so fucking smooth. What a cool game, man.
What do you do in that game?
It's kind of a
2D
platformer
platformer
shooter kind of style. So I'm not gonna say Mega Man style, but jumping, shooting,
Yeah.
at least that's kind of the same. It almost feels more like an Earthworm Jim
Oh, yeah.
than, but the game is so smooth.
Is it
The
a goofy?
controls
Is it a
incredible.
goofy game or a serious game?
Serious.
Serious.
You're like a wicked fucking robot looking thing. You're green. I don't know how to describe it, but it plays outstanding. Really good control.
Gargoyles is next.
Yeah,
Never played this one.
that's Disney's Gargoyles, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
So
This is based off the show.
yeah,
But I believe it's also a platformer.
yeah, like every fucking
Anything.
Disney Genesis game, right?
Yeah.
Really good control. Yeah, Gargoyles Genesis. It's like along that same line as Aladdin, Lion King, right? It's following up everything. Yeah, what's the main guy's name? Hudson?
Hudson.
Hudson.
Yeah.
Fuck, I missed that cartoon, man. It's on Disney Plus, isn't it?
Maybe. I don't know.
I gotta watch that shit.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, like if you look at screenshots of this game, it screams Aladdin.
Yeah.
So that awesome art style, they just kept rehashing Disney property, right? And I don't blame them. The games were good.
MK3.
Mortal Kombat 3 for Sega Genesis.
Yep.
Would
So
you say
same thing.
better than Super Nintendo with the 6-button controller?
I mean, the Super Nintendo still worked
Yeah.
because there was really only the 4 main buttons and then block.
Would you rank this one higher than Super Nintendo?
I'm gonna go no,
No.
because it's such.
You probably have blood in this one though, like red blood.
I mean, fuck.
For Super Nintendo, it was
so-
probably green or.
Oh,
no,
I mean, yeah,
no, it
let's-
was sweat. It was sweat for Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, so let's go back like 95, right? I am 17.
When I was 17, I bought some
17.
very good.
So I don't know.
theater.
Did blood in a video game give me a boner? Really? No,
No, not at that point anymore.
I didn't
guess.
care. And I mean, the school ground didn't give a shit anymore.
Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Earth. Well, Earthworm
Oh,
Jim
for
2.
Sega. Yeah, same shit.
But
Did you like
it
more for
didn't have
Genesis?
weapon switching in the Genesis version. So
Okay.
the
Like
Super
it more?
Nintendo version was immediately better.
Hey, this one sounds familiar. Separation anxiety. What's
Oh, that's
that
a
one?
good
That's
one.
Spider-Man, right? Or Venom.
Yeah, and that's the one with probably some of the best freaking music in any Spider-Man game ever.
It's like straight up
Spider-Man
fucking
and
heavy guitar. And
Spider-Man separation anxiety. You can pick between Spider-Man or Venom, and you can actually pick between different symbiotes or whatever they're called later in the game.
Yeah.
Very fucking cool. Side-scrolling beat 'em up, awesome Black Sabbath music and shit.
Nice.
Yep.
Sounds pretty metal.
Yeah.
WWF WrestleMania, the arcade.
You know what? This one, I remember renting a bit, and I actually bought this one eventually. I had it on Super Nintendo. The Genesis version was better because there was more wrestlers in it,
And it ran smoother.
and it did run a lot quicker.
Which is like sometimes I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Developers just not trying. I don't know what it is because you have certain games like most of the time Mortal Kombat, absolutely Street Fighter 2 ran way better on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then you have games like this or EA Sports games where they run way better on the Genesis.
Yeah, because it gets bogged down on the SNES. I don't know
Oh,
why.
like
And I
NHL
don't know
'94,
why.
like it's almost a fucking slideshow on the Super Nintendo. It
Yeah.
runs like gold on the Genesis. Just don't get
Yeah.
the
I
correlation
remember-
between.
I remember in this game, playing as Razor Ramon, and if I chopped somebody too many times too fast, the amount of sweat or whatever, if you chop the Undertaker, tombs fall from him, and if you chop Yokozuna, fish fall from off his body, right? And then from you chopping him, with the amount of sprites of the fish leaving Yokozuna, it actually slows down the entire screen.
This was the first WWE game that had finishers, right? Finishing moves.
Nope.
Okay.
No. Well, if you're because this is basically a Mortal Kombat game. This is Mortal Kombat. This is Midway, who made Mortal Kombat, who made a Super WrestleMania game, wrestling game. So it's the same thing as Mortal Kombat. It's digitized guys, same style of moves. There's the same uppercut, and
Okay.
You do get finishers, but it's kind of like in the same realm of Mortal Kombat. It's not like WWF Royal Rumble or Raw where you have your Razor's Edge and then 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Or if you're Ric Flair, you have your figure 4, and it's a button masher.
Oh, yeah.
This is very much a fighting Street
Okay.
Fighter Mortal Kombat game.
Okay.
I liked it for the time, but it's one of those where if you played it in an arcade, you wouldn't have bothered renting it, and I never played it on arcade, so I rented the game.
Done.
On the 32X was Virtual
Doc, I've
Fighter.
been playing that new Virtua
Yeah, so
Fighter.
on my
Virtua
phone.
Fighter was
Virtua,
actually a
wow.
really
Nice.
good
Realistic, man,
game.
you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It was
I'm
probably
down,
the
man.
only
I should get
32X
my
game
head
that
checked
was
out. Make sure there's no
good.
damage, man.
Uh,
I mean, no more
But
than
can we
usual,
get past
right,
the
Doc?
moon jumps?
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's got
Whoa!
pictures of
Moon
kids.
jumps!
It's the replays
Holy, does it ever
camera
take
views.
forever to come back to the ground?
What was their name? Pi?
Jumps
What was I talking
jumps
Pi.
100 feet in the air and then comes down.
It's just Pi, right? P-A-I?
Yeah.
I used her and only her because if you held back and just mashed the punch button, she would counter every single fucking kick and punch with a throw.
Yeah.
You could just cheese the shit out of the game. So I go and
The
spend
OP
1
character.
quarter in the arcade and beat the shit out of this game. And people are like, "Oh my god, you're legendary." I'm like, "No, I'm just holding back and mashing a button."
I find this unplayable on anything other than an arcade.
Pretty
Next
much. And
is-
Saturn. Saturn is outstanding.
is
But-
Tekken. That's a big one.
So I put it, it's the
Tekken.
only PlayStation game that I put in here for 95.
Oh, okay.
Because everybody went, well, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, and Virtua Fighting kind of give you a little sniff of like a 3D, ring out style game, and then Tekken came along and said, like, get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
That game is phenomenal.
I remember when Tekken came out. I saw that in the arcades, and
It changed.
it was literally Tekken and then Virtua on side by side, and I'm like, "Fuck, which one do I pick?" I had a hard time picking.
So
I never tried anything like Tekken when it came out. I never saw anything like Tekken.
to me, like Virtua Fighter was like it was very blocky. It was
Very
very,
blocky.
and Tekken came in and went, okay, well that's cute. Now we're gonna put actual.
Wow, when
polygons
Tekken came
down
out,
and
I
make
was
it look good.
blown away.
Yeah,
I was
so,
just I would always pick Jax.
what was the tiger dude?
Oh, King
King.
Lion. I
I think wasn't his name just King, but whatever
Yeah,
it
King.
was, he
He had suplexes and German suplexes.
I
and
the
body
the guy
slams.
Zangiefed the fuck out of that game. Man.
Yeah,
that guy
man.
was awesome.
I love Tekken. I'm happy you included this in there.
Yeah. So, and I didn't put many PlayStation games, but there's 1 or 2. Despite PlayStation and Saturn, at this point, 65% or 64% or something is still 16-bit revenue.
Yeah.
So they're making money, but they're not dominating like you think they would.
Yeah, people are still holding on to their consoles from the early 90s, and they want to hold on to them as long as they can.
Yep.
They know that a bunch of consoles like this are going to be released. They don't want to make the same maybe mistake that they did earlier this year because they didn't know that they should have bought either the Super Nintendo or Sega. They're like, well, just wait. What if you were one of those poor suckers who had the Amiga or the fucking even
Well,
a
that's-
Neo Geo at this point?
Like the Amiga we're all Canadian and it actually came out here. It never did release in the States because they had a court injunction. They owed $10 million for some patent infringement and they refused to pay it. So the Amiga never released in the States. That immediately killed them.
Yeah, that wouldn't get over.
But had it released in the States, nobody would have fucking bought it.
Amiga. This sounds familiar. What is that thing?
That used to be a computer,
Yeah.
and an excellent computer with
Yeah.
really good sound.
Uh-huh.
But they reused some of those parts to make this Amiga CD console, and it never.
What did it look like? I want to look this up. How do you
Yeah,
spell-
you need
how
to
do you
look at
spell
it because
AM
you need to look at it because
Amiga 500. Oh yeah. Okay.
apparently someone is trying to log into my Twitter account right
Oh,
now,
oh.
currently live.
Should probably get off Twitter then.
Wow, you're famous.
Suspicious login
Yeah.
from Hempstead, New York.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Better take care of that there, Brian.
Well, we'll be right back here. We're going to take a short break.
Yeah.
Curtis, tell them we're going to take a short break.
We'll be right back after this short break. Hey.
Here I go into 1996.
Fucking good segue, man. I like it.
1996, everybody, and the month is actually what month?
No,
January.
we're just doing the whole damn thing.
The whole
96.
year.
96 in review in one fucking go. Let's
No
do it.
release dates, but this isn't us at all, Lauren.
All right, so
Yeah, I know. If anybody's been paying attention, we are like 3 fucking hour episodes, so we have to start cutting shit off. We're gonna do the whole year in one go.
So this
Okay.
is when I probably started playing some of these games because I was probably 5,
Okay.
96.
Yeah.
Holy shit, bro! What?
Yeah.
Like,
I
hang
would've
on,
been,
pause
10
the pod.
I-
I would have
Really?
been 10 years old.
I would have
so-
Fuck,
turned,
am
I
I
would have
old.
turned 6 in 96.
Yeah. I would have been 10.
I was
I was 10. Yeah.
18 going on 19.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So, lot
You
of
old
different-
man.
I am.
Different perspectives on this year from different
Like-
people here.
I'm good as thing. It's a podcast. People can't see me doing this right now. Shaking my fist at the clouds.
My God.
Okay, game 1. Let's do this.
Yes, I don't know what MMX means, but
Mega Man X3.
So this
Oh,
this is
okay.
Mega Man X3. By far the hardest of the 3 games. It's holy shit, is it hard?
It's hard, and you know what? Actually, out of the 3, probably, sadly enough, my least favorite.
Yeah.
I have more fond memories with the first 2 than I do the third.
So
This one was released, I believe, too late.
yeah, by this point we're dabbling in PlayStation.
Yeah, platformers weren't a thing almost at this point. Now
We're-
everyone wanted 3D.
We're sniffing the N64 is coming. Where arcades are like way hot again at this point. So.
Oh yeah, I was going to the arcade every weekend, man.
But
And every Friday night.
this game, there is no question. What's the Buffalo level? What's his name? You know what I'm talking about,
I'll
though.
put
Like the
his
snow,
picture up,
the
but
snow level, and the song for that level is
it's pretty cool.
fucking Guns N' Roses, My Michelle.
Totally.
It is. It's a 100% fucking rip off of that
Capcom
song.
got away with it.
And I can't believe they pulled it off. It is
Nothing-
100% My Michelle.
Nothing too memorable about. I mean, the music for every time Zero comes in is pretty cool. Like the Zero theme is
Yeah.
pretty sweet. They really build on Zero as a character in this game. I believe you actually get to
You
start
get to
off
play as him
as
at the
Zero,
end of the
and
game.
you get to play with his lightsaber, and you're like, holy fuck, there's a laser lightsaber, and it's another good. It's just a good continuation of the series, and it's not that I don't like it. It's just that I didn't play it as much as the other 2, and it's still a good game by Capcom.
Yes.
And I think it's actually arguably one of the most expensive games out of the 3 too.
It's wildly expensive, unless you buy it from Japan.
Yeah, if you buy the
I paid
Japanese copy,
$5.
$10, $5.
Yeah,
I
paid
bought
nothing.
my copy of Metroid from Japan for $8.
Yeah, and now even it's stupid Super Metroid. It's very expensive now.
From Japan?
Yeah,
Really?
they've all gone up.
Oh shit! Well, that was the secret for the longest time.
Yes, it was.
Well,
But
anyway,
yeah, good game.
Good game. Moving on.
Super Mario RPG.
How about you hit us off there, Lauren?
Why? Why would I take this away from you?
Square
Tendo.
It's Square Tendo.
Finally, you're right.
And it's a good freaking game. I love this game. This is like, for a lot of us, common folk, quote unquote. This was for some of us our first RPG. Not me.
Super
but,
fair. No, that's very true.
For some of the mainstream audience here who likes normal games, this was their first RPG. It was very colorful. You could finally play on the same team as bad guys that would jump on their heads from the earlier Mario games, which was a very cool thing. Which eventually, that's what led to the creation of games like Mario Golf and Mario Party, where the antagonists of this series are actually part of a playable character select screen, right?
You can play as Bowser in this game.
Yeah, you can have him on your team.
So I think
my
the
favorite
one
character.
the one thing that came from this game that a lot of people can agree on is it made RPGs more fun because
Yes.
the battle system included you. You could time the A button so that you took less damage, or you could time the A button on in different ways to make your attack more potent.
Yeah.
You could mash the button with Geno, or hold the A button with Geno to make the one attack more powerful. You could rotate the controller with Mallow's one attack. Depending on what weapon Mario was using, like if it was the shell, you tapped A when you kicked it to make it more powerful, or the hammer, you like tapped A to like hit twice instead of one. There was interaction in the game, and it was more fun.
Yeah.
The 3D maze can legitimately suck its own dick. So
It
like
took
you know
me a
what I'm
while.
talking about,
Oh,
in
yeah, it
the
took
where
me a while.
you go in and you can't see your character,
Yeah.
and you have to move around, and I fucking hated that part. But
Questionable
everything
levels
else,
in that game.
the like Midas River, how fun was that, man? Like the dumb little mini games were so fun.
Yeah.
The tadpole music was super cool.
Memorable. Absolutely.
Moving the notes around to try to guess the song. It's just everything about that game was so fun. Story was, probably the most fleshed out story in a Mario game, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much story in Mario to begin with.
Smithy was a cool villain, I guess. That's the sword. Its
Yeah.
name, isn't it? Smithy.
That's right.
Seeing Bowser like cry because he's kicked out of his own castle, like it was fun. It was a super fun game. And Culex is the secret boss that is balls ass hard. It was a very tough. That's a cool thing. Man. I can't remember the name of that town, like the cliffside town, and the one door is locked. That's where Culex is hiding, and you can
there's
open it later.
there's so much replayability in this because even once you beat the game, you can still keep going.
Yeah,
Like it's just a fun game. It's expensive now unless you want to buy the Japanese version, and you can read kanji or whatever.
this was actually the last game I needed to get every U.S. released SquareSoft game, and I held out for the longest time. and I
Nerd.
regret it. I fucking regret it because it ended up being $100.
Oh my god.
I probably could have had it for $30 if I wasn't stupid. But hey, so
Them's the breaks, kid.
next game I put it for one reason only.
I don't understand this. Ken Griffey Jr.'s winning run.
Yeah, that's a.
It's a baseball game?
NLBPA game.
Oh, okay.
And it had a home run derby mode, and it was so fucking good.
Yeah, a
That's
little
it.
flawed, but good.
The game itself, the actual baseball game, it plays really well.
Yeah,
More arcade style
very
than
arcade.
Sim.
Like almost like a Sega version.
Yeah.
Sega arcade.
Or like if it was NFL Blitz or NHL
Yeah.
Hits,
Yeah,
this would be like MLB Spits.
That's a great way of describing.
Whatever rhymes with one of the it's
It's
Spits, because you eat Spits in a baseball game. That's why.
Who made this one?
Man, I'd have to look it up.
Okay, well,
But-
moving on.
But the home run derby mode is like, if you're thinking about it and you have an emulator right now, just load it up and try it, and I swear you will have a hell of a time with it.
Mohawk and headphone jack.
That's an expensive game nowadays.
So it's a weird game in that you don't really, like, you move the character, but you rotate the level around you. So you hold the R or L buttons to like rotate the level so that you can move around, and it is like all mode 7 effect kind of thing, and it was cool.
Mode
I-
It's just made by Black
does Mode
Pearl
7
Software and
mean?
THQ. So, a really good combo of a team.
Black Pearl made Blackthorn, didn't they? I'm trying to think. What did Black Pearl make?
Blizzard made Blackthorn.
Right. No, you're right. Oh shit. Tom was right and I was wrong.
Mark this on your calendar. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about that
The next
game.
one is Tetris Attack.
So Tetris Attack is man, it's essentially 2-player battle Tetris, and fuck was it fun.
Yeah.
I highly recommend this game. Anybody just looking for a super fun 2-player game, like split screen left and right, just a wicked ass time.
Lufia 2.
By
Lufia 2.
Natsume. Oh my god, this fucking game
This-
is so good.
This is my personal fucking ready for this. Personal favorite RPG on the Super Nintendo.
Yasunori Shiono
I will take this game
fucking killed
over
this.
Chrono Trigger, over Final Fantasy VI, over all of them. This is my favorite RPG on the Super Nintendo, and it's a
Natsume
fucking
Neverland just
sleeper.
killed this one, man.
So it's
Just a great looking RPG. It's just a beautiful game.
So this game is a sequel, but it's
like Final
but it's
Fantasy.
a prequel.
It's like Final Fantasy, basically.
It's
A prettier version.
pretty much. I mean, how do you describe it?
Bigger characters.
It's Final Fantasy IX. You get abilities
Yeah.
off your armor, weapons. You can use something called IP that will give you special attacks based on what you're wearing. So
and just big characters, just great. looking,
massive
man.
bosses, really colorful. All the dungeons have puzzle mechanics, so you can use your sword to like hit a crystal that'll open something, or you get like a hook shot thing. You get an arrow. You get bombs, so that you can either bomb walls or you can bomb like tiles on the floor to like, and you have to like bomb them in a certain order, and like it's super fun puzzle mechanics. The boss battles are fucking awesome. The equipment, every single piece of equipment in the game has a use. Instead of it being, like, oh, well, you got wood armor, and then you move to brass armor, and then bronze armor, and then iron armor. But none of it's just better defense. Everything in this game has a special use if you use your IP. And that makes that game like so fucking good. And I haven't even mentioned the best part of the game yet. So if you beat the game, you can do it retry mode, which you get triple the experience, and you can blow through the game in half the time. And then if you beat it a second time, you get something called GIF mode, which opens up the ancient fucking cave. And this thing is wicked. It's 100 floors, randomly generated. You walk in there, dead naked. You have no equipment, no nothing. You choose your party, so you can take healers, you can take battle like damage dealers. You can choose, and you walk into this dungeon, and whatever you find randomly, you equip and have to fight the enemies that get progressively harder and harder and harder. And I swear to fucking God, it's the most addictive thing ever.
You have to beat the game 3 times in order to get there?
You have to beat it twice
2
to
times?
get,
Fuck.
but in the game itself, the ancient cave exists.
That's insane, though.
And you can go in at any time, but it's not the same.
That's some like Ghosts and Goblins shit right there.
It's so fucking worth it. And the ancient cave, I don't know how many goddamn times I've played it, and when the battery died on my cart, I was so heartbroken because I lost that save.
Yeah.
So now I don't have the ancient cave anymore. So I was like, fuck. Yeah. This is the one game where I've actually replaced the battery in the cart. That's how fucking good it is.
Good
I'm
game.
leaving it there.
Good game.
That's all I can say about it.
I rented it and I liked it.
Kirby Superstar.
8 games in one. I love this game.
Yes.
There's a speed run race. There's your typical platformer. There's, I think, a mine jumping race cart thing. It's just, I think this game's actually pretty expensive too nowadays. But this was like one of your multi-type game style.
Massive replay value.
Yeah, kind of like a Mario Party before there was a Mario Party.
I would say the best Kirby game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, I know the recent Tom can't know because he doesn't own a Switch.
I don't.
But
Sorry.
the newest Kirby that just dropped is... Fuck, is it good. But this is probably the second best Kirby game ever.
Yeah.
I mean, enough said.
SimCity 2000.
This one's pretty good, but not as good as the original SimCity.
Yeah, the original... Like, fuck is that? You know what's crazy? I probably put the original SimCity top 10 SNES games.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Top 10
Especially if
Super
you
Nintendo
had
games.
the SNES mouse pad.
That game, fuck, is it good.
Yep.
But yeah, SimCity 2000 was just the evolution. But at this point, everyone has a PC. Like the original
Yep.
SimCity, not everybody had a PC. So
Packard Bells were coming out for a cheap price back in the mid 90s. So, among other, like the.
well, yeah, like 96, now you're getting like Pentium Pros.
Yeah,
Dirt cheap. Like you could build a PC for, don't laugh,
$3,000.
under $1,500 at this point.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
a fucking steal.
It is.
Now, I mean, the phone that I'm holding in my hand could kick the shit out of that PC that I
Yeah.
originally bought for $2,000, right? But everybody could afford it then. Whereas when SimCity first came out, nobody could afford that shit, right? So the Super Nintendo game was what we could get, and it was so good. Like they knew they couldn't make the PC experience, so they dumbed it down. They didn't dumb down SimCity 2000, and I think it suffered because of it.
Yeah.
Next is Street Fighter Alpha 2.
So this was like kind of a different way of playing Street Fighter. It didn't have the exact same feel as Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
No.
It was like a different style of control. I felt like it was kind of held back a bit.
You're totally right.
And I actually didn't really like this series of Street Fighter, having grown up with Street Fighter 2, if I were to be absolutely honest.
The one thing I love about Alpha 2, and
Don't say damn.
I'll defend the Saturn to the fucking death. It's the best version of this game.
Okay.
But I love the simplified art style. And
It's very simplified.
this is pre Street Fighter 1, right, in the storyline. So it's a prequel style, and like Ryu and Ken are super young. But I just love like that like almost anime style.
It is very anime.
It's like art wise super fucking cool. But apparently it was by function over form. The hardware they used, they had a fuck ton of leftover hardware, so they had to get it out in arcade land. So they had to specifically make the graphics lighter because the hardware couldn't handle it. That's it. That's why they made a simplified Street Fighter. And the art style, I actually prefer it over like Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But the gameplay wise, yeah, it suffered.
It did.
Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble.
So, my sister and I played this game quite often, and I liked it as a Donkey Kong Country game. Is it my favorite out of the three? No. But it's still a good game. It's just at this point, it just came out a bit too late, or it just didn't really hit at home as much as the two previous titles. That's the best way I can put it.
That cabin beer is fucking delicious. It's fucking delicious.
It's a really good NEPA. Yeah,
That's one of the best Nipas I've ever had.
yeah, I mean, I agree. Next,
That's all I have to say about Donkey Kong.
That's what I'm saying about Donkey Kong Country 3!
Yeah, that makes you think of something else when you think about that game. N64 launches September 29th.
Ah, the
and
Ultra
the console
64.
costs $199 US.
So cheap.
Fucking
what
steal.
a cheap price for a console. Of four controllers can plug into this thing off the bat.
I will say, having 4-player right off the bat, fucking legendary.
That's a selling all day long
At this point, the greatest multiplayer console
of all time.
that's ever come out.
Absolutely.
And its own successor actually fucking beat it. But N64, I immediately like Super Mario 64
I
might
fell
be
in love
one
with
of the
that
most
system.
incredible launch games I've ever fucking played.
Absolutely. I love that game.
Holy shit, is it good? That's, and then we only had 2 games at launch here. It was Mario 64 and Pilot Wings.
Both
Which-
really good.
We all know I fucking love Pilot Wings on Super Nintendo. On N64, it wasn't as good.
No, it wasn't.
Which-
It kind of was a little lackluster, really.
Well, the frame rate was like 8 frames a second
But-
for one.
Dude,
And then the whole like wing sound effects, like a fuck. But yeah, it felt like a campy, not serious version of a game, and I don't know.
but we can't forget about the amazing soundtrack. That stuff would put me to sleep in like 5 minutes.
Mario 64 was one of the greatest launch games ever fucking played.
Yeah,
Period.
I can agree. Like the only other really successful launch titles with the console would be definitely not Altered Beast. I'd say like Super Mario World for Super Nintendo.
I
And
was
Super
I'm
Mario
glad you
for
said that
original
because I was
Nintendo.
gonna say the same thing. Like, man, did people sleep on that? Super Mario World is. Go back and play it right now. I guarantee you will have a hell of a time with it.
Yeah.
And like the nostalgic glee that I get having the overworld map with the the song, like always.
Yeah, it's all memorable. And didn't they eventually release Sonic 2 as a pack-in game for Sega Genesis?
Yes.
So there you go.
I think
That
the
was a
Sonic
great
2
one,
and
too.
Genesis 2, it was the new model Genesis. That was like, man, that was like for a fucking year straight.
Yeah.
That thing. That's why Sonic 2 is one of the best-selling games ever.
What was the pack-in game for PlayStation or PlayStation 1? Was there one?
There was no.
None. Okay. How about Xbox? None?
Besides Halo, like it must have been Halo.
Well, okay. Well, then Halo would be probably the next.
Like there
best
were, I think there
game.
was a
As
pack-in
a
version, but
Pack-in.
originally, like, I'm honestly from, like N64 didn't have a pack-in. So from N64
had a
on,
pack-in eventually.
well, no, they did do bundles,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
originally you could buy.
That's right. A bundle
Like Super
pack.
Nintendo originally,
Yeah.
you only got the Mario
One
World
controller,
version, right?
one controller in the system.
So
And
from
Mario,
N64 on, every console had no pack-in originally.
What are you saying? Pack-in? What's
Like a game with it.
a pack-in?
Yeah, like so when you bought the console, it came with a game,
Mm-hmm.
but from Nintendo 64 on, they didn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
They just left
They
the
just
game out,
stopped doing it.
right? So, I mean, you have
Cheap
to immediately
bastards.
say that now we're losing Canadian $80 value
Well,
every single console
I
sale.
think when I got my Xbox, it came with Halo or something.
I mean, but there was
Yeah.
a version where you could just buy the console.
Yeah,
no,
my
no
version
Halo.
was just a
You
console.
weren't handcuffed into getting, like, when the Super Nintendo first launched, you had no choice. You were getting Mario World with it, which, in hindsight, who the fuck wouldn't want that game? It was
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal, right? Like Genesis, it came packed with Altered Beast, and then Columns 3 or something like that. Who the fuck wants that? Like,
No one, no one does.
Altered Beast was shit.
I hate that game. Fuck that game.
Sonic 3D Blast.
I like that game, but a lot
Yes.
of Sonic.
This game is so
fans don't like
underrated.
But I love Sonic 3D Blast.
And no, we're not talking about Spinball. We're
Spinball's awesome.
Sonic 3D Blast was actually a super fun game.
So much fun.
Like imagine not Sonic Adventure, but Sonic Adventure game. That's what it was. It was a like isometric adventure game. It was fucking fun.
And it didn't slow down at all. So that was cool.
Yeah, blast
And
process.
it looked 3D to me back then.
Virtua Fighter 2.
Yes.
Still too much of a
Oh,
long time.
I also
Moon
missed Vector
jumping.
Man 2.
Yes. So
Moon jumping again.
the jumping is absolute fucking floaty 1/6 gravity, but Virtua Fighter 2 over Virtua Fighter 1 is as big a leap, technically, artistically, everything, as Street Fighter to Street Fighter 2. It was night and day better in every fucking way. Like where we talked about like blocky polygons and how like it looked like shit, to 2, which had like you could see hairs, individual hairs, and it looks so good and controlled super well. But at this point, I don't know, like Tekken is putting its knee down on the throat of Sega. Like there is a better fighter out there, like a 3D ring style where if you get knocked out of the ring, you lose. That's what this kind of style of fighter was. I think Tekken at this point is just better.
Vector Man 2.
Like everything that Vector Man was, just more of it. And excellent game. Super smooth, man. Like the animation was just, fuck, is it so good in this game. It looked like a CD game, but it was a regular Genesis game.
Next it says annual EA releases.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so-
96 was probably the best year, in my
For
opinion.
NHL.
For NHL, for basketball, for football.
Well, definitely NHL, because it had the spinorama.
My God, NHL 96.
Wasn't it? You
just-
could hit X and do a spinorama?
You can finally, yeah. You
That
can
was
do
fucking fun,
You can
man.
spin around and dump it in the net. NHL 96 is the game that,
There was one-timers.
yes, you could do one-timers in this. This is the one that you can finally do 4 players with all your buddies with a new roster.
Yeah.
And
You couldn't.
it was
You could
just
actually
so
do
much fun.
5. You could do 5-player.
Yes, you can actually do up to 5 players because there's you just plug in your 4-player adapter in the second port of the Super Nintendo, and you get all 4 controllers there, and then you plug an extra controller in the first port, and you get a 5th player. So you could actually finally, and you can do that the same thing with NBA Live 96 and Madden Madden 96, like all of them.
You know how much
And
fun
these are so awesome.
4-player anything is. Co-op,
Get some nachos, get some
or
beers, bam.
even like 2 players on each.
Yeah,
Man, you know how fun that is?
dude.
A lot of shit talk back then, man.
This is back
I mean-
in the day where you didn't have to like move a console from one area to the other. You could just bring. Literally back then, you'd be like, bring a controller. I remember. Hey, we're gonna have an N64 party. Yeah, remember to bring your controller. Bro.
And I can hear all the, fucking kids right now, like, dumbasses. We can just
Don't forget your
we can
memory
just
card.
jump on PSN or Xbox Live now and do that.
You didn't have
what
that
a bunch of
back
fucking
then.
losers,
Yeah.
But
You have to bring your
also,
memory card so you could
toxic
keep doing the same
motherfuckers
season.
have made online gaming terrible, and you should
Yeah,
all be
you guys
fucking
should be-
ashamed of yourselves.
Absolutely, you guys
Back
should be
then,
ashamed.
when we all sat on the same couch and we did 4-player, whether it be like Mario Party, which is way in the future at this point, or
So
like
in the future.
but like NHL or Madden or NBA, and you had to shit talk
Dungeons
a guy
and
to his
Dragons.
face, and there was consequences if you went too far.
That's right.
None of you fucks know that. Period. Mom, make me a fucking ham sandwich. All of you, fuck off. In person 4-player was like, you'll never understand how fucking awesome it was.
And I think that's the thing. Like a lot of people nowadays haven't played the back in the day of the GoldenEye 4-players.
Ah.
You know, playing GoldenEye. Oh my god! I
Remote
made
Mines.
enemies that way.
Remote Mines.
Rockets.
One of the
only?
greatest.
Jesus.
Or a Golden Gun.
Yeah.
Golden Gun was bullshit.
Friends can
I-
turn into enemies
ah,
quickly. I tell you.
It was
Anyway.
outstanding.
So next is Spider-Man Web of Fire on the 32X.
So
I've never heard of this one.
It's only in there because it's the last game that was released on the 32X before they finally said, God, we should have never released it. It's dead. It's done. This is the last game, and now it doesn't exist.
And then Guardian Heroes on the Saturn.
Never heard of this one
Holy
either.
shit, is it good.
What is it?
It's another treasure. Gem. So it's just like what was on the Sega or Saturn? The Genesis. That was treasure, not Alien Soldier, but the other Gunstar Heroes.
Oh,
So
that's
it's essentially
cool.
a sequel to
rail
Gunstar
shooter.
Heroes. It's Guardian Heroes, and it's more of that awesome style, like the
Shooting,
Metal
rail
Slug
shooter.
run and gun shooting.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. I have it for the Japan Saturn. Significantly cheaper game again. One day we should set that up and play 2-player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For which game?
Guardian Heroes.
Oh, okay, cool. And this one is called Nights into Dreams. What platform is that?
This is the game where people went, holy shit, Saturn's real.
Mhm.
Which is ironic. It's a totally 3D game, but it's on rails. So
Oh.
you can't freely move around in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
You think like Crash Bandicoot.
Mhm.
They claim how, and I'm gonna blow a hole in PlayStation. They can go fuck themselves on this. They talked about how Crash Bandicoot was like 3D and it was so fucking awesome and like, come out, plumber boy, like in the ads, right? When they
right.
were standing outside Nintendo with the bullhorn.
Yep.
But in reality, it wasn't even
Good
a
ad.
3D game because you couldn't freely fucking move anywhere. You could move along the path. That's it. And Knights is the same shit. You were this like jester thing that flew around in a kid's dream. It's the best way I can describe it. And you would fly around a very specific path. It had a bit of a Sonic feel to it, like loop-de-loops and shit. And there was a Christmas edition, which apparently is valuable. That's actually the one I have, is the Christmas Knights. But I don't think there's anything special about this game whatsoever. But people lost their shit when it came out, and they said this is a system seller. So I don't know. That's the best I can give you on that. It's not that great a game. It's it's collectible for some stupid reason, but that's it. And that's pretty much 96.
Are we ready to jump into 1997?
1997. Whoa!
Is that what it like when on January 1st when you were
I'm trying to think.
Whoa!
19.
What was hot ass in 97?
and 64.
Boys to Men.
That's not how I pictured
Boys to
this
Men.
to go.
The Matrix is still 2 years away.
So nothing.
Yeah, we're like a pre-Matrix world.
Yeah,
Nothing's fun.
nothing's fun.
So Blizzard releases, I guess, the second side scroller called Lost Vikings 2.
Oh, that's a good one. Another trifecta. Your three Vikings, and they all can do different abilities, and you have to use them as a puzzle platformer to make it from one end of the stage to the end. There's pits, and one of them has a shield, and you may have to go into this pit and turn your shield upwards so people can walk on top of it to go across.
Yeah. Puzzle platformer, and
puzzle
it's
platformer.
fucking outstanding.
Really fun.
Olaf!
Awesome DJ.
Lights them up!
I don't recall who's the composer for this, but awesome, really cool.
It is really
tunes.
cool. It's like a kind of a techno
DJ style techno music through the whole thing, which is
house
pretty neat.
house style.
House style, yeah.
It's fucking cool, yeah.
Good game.
Harvest Moon sticks out in my memory.
Oh, yes.
So that
I
was gonna
think everyone liked it, but I also feel, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that one attracted a lot more female gamers.
I think so.
That's
yes.
very fair.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's totally.
Why do you
fair.
think that?
I think they just
It's like
vibe with a sim
multitasking-
life.
Yeah, it's a simulation multitasking game where you have to do a bunch of things, and I guess that's what attracts the nature is doing many things in one game.
Yeah.
right, at the
It's a
same time.
multitask kind of agricultural simulation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would find that stressful.
That's the thing. It's not complex, it's not stressful. It's go at your own pace.
Yeah.
It's a lot of choose your own adventure too, right? My much better half, she doesn't love gaming at all, but I guarantee she put 100 hours into Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Is Animal
She-
Crossing like Harvest Moon?
Right. It's the same series.
It's a very much do as you want
yeah.
series, right? Like if you were to pick something that is as close to this original game, it would be Stardew Valley. Now,
'Kay.
so
That's
every
for N64,
console has Stardew Valley now. It's on Switch, it's on Steam, it's on
Oh,
everything.
okay.
PS4. Stardew Valley is essentially a love story to the original Harvest Moon, which this was. Like, so it's that farming sim, but just in a cutesy, charming way. And man, it really resonated with a huge community.
Harvest Moon kind of looks like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The same perspective, same kind of atmosphere, I guess.
Yeah.
no, that's fair.
Again, back to the annual EA releases for 1997.
Yeah, just more of.
Yeah.
And I think at this point we know.
No new differences really that I can tell.
Well, this one's actually like NHL 98.
Yeah.
Right. So
But 96 is the good one. For
96 is
best
the good one. 97's good. 98's just the last one ever made,
Mhm.
and that came out in 97.
Arkanoid.
It's
Do it
your
again?
Typical arcade version of almost like a breakout game.
Yeah.
It's a paddle. You go on.
Well,
the
this one
bottom.
came with a pack and paddle, didn't it?
Yeah, there was a controller that came with it.
So yeah, and it was like the
Yeah, it's
just
a
a
little
dial.
dial. It's a dial.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird because not a lot of companies did that. Where it's like, hey, here's this game, and we also made the controller for the game.
Hmm.
You know, kind of crazy.
That's
when you
probably the
think about
last time a company made a controller specific to the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other than the new Xbox games, mech games where you get a
Oh
whole
man, it was
frickin'-
like a fucking $250
all
that
the
was
dials
so
and
cool.
controls.
What?
And
It was
shit.
literally about-
It was this fucking big.
It's like you have a command center. Fuck me. What's
For
I
Xbox.
wanted to play that game so
For what,
fucking
Mech
bad.
Assault or something? Or
like final?
Was it not
mission,
called-
Front Mission?
No, wasn't it called Mech Assault?
I-
It wasn't
I don't
Front
know.
Mission because Front Mission
Okay,
was
let me tell you,
Square.
because this is
Armored
my generation.
Armored Core or something. Armored something.
But it's like a Gundam game.
Yeah,
and
it's insane.
fuck the controller on that.
it's like a huge command post.
And each button on the console does something in the game.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool. I like
Yeah.
not actually fucking cool, but in the
looks
nerdiest
cool.
fucking I
'Cause
wanted it.
there was a few mech games that came out in Xbox, and one of them was Mech Assault. I don't think that game was a simulation game, so it wouldn't
Arcadey.
have. It wouldn't. Yes, it wouldn't have worked with this cool controller setup that was an addition. So maybe Armored Saint,
Armored something, Armored Core.
maybe that
Armored
one,
something.
or maybe one of the Gundam games or something.
Steel Battalion.
Steel Battalion.
Steel
that's-
Battalion. And honestly, Google it now and look at the image, and you're like, holy
Look
shit!
at that thing, man.
There's dials. There's
It's insane.
Steel Battalion.
It's like I remember seeing that back in I don't know if there's still EB games or not, but back in
Look
the
at that
day it was
fucking
like $250 for
look
the
at
controller.
it.
Man, that looks so cool.
Like,
What is it
3
called?
pedals.
What is it
Big
called?
ass dildo controllers, 3 pedals, like 8 dials, 16 buttons. There's 2 thingies, or there's one
Two
like
thingies, you guys.
like the the lever that goes
like the airport
almost
style,
like a shit like a on the
throttle?
floor shifter.
throttle. Yeah, a throttle shifter.
There's
Airplane throttle
big
shifter.
clear green and red buttons on it, like missile launch buttons.
Is there any
and-
of them where you
no,
have
and
to
there's
clear the
there,
plastic
yes,
cover?
I was just gonna say there's
Oh,
one where you gotta
nice.
flip the fucking. We are so off
The
fucking
plastic-
Yeah,
topic
but
right now.
what is that thing called?
Steel Battalion controller.
Wow.
How much is it?
I remember when it first like it was like $250
$250
US
Yeah.
for the
For
controller.
one video game that wasn't very good.
But I mean, people spent that much money on well, like 5 times that much money on
one Neo Geo
on a-
game.
No, on a steering wheel.
On a Neo Geo game, $200.
Like remember when people dropped like $500 for Thrustmaster like
Next
jet,
is,
like jet
uh,
controllers?
Back in the
Kirby's
90s.
Dream Land 3.
That one's the best one.
And
That
this
one's the best one
I,
of them all.
I'm still a superstar guy over this.
Because
but-
it's 8 games in one.
This is the last game that Nintendo released for the Super Nintendo.
So sad.
That Nintendo made.
Yeah.
That's has to be. It's not the last game released for the Super Nintendo. That was a steaming pile of shit called Frogger. No, this was the last game that Nintendo released for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. And basically the last good game released for the Super Nintendo, really.
Yep.
Golden Axe 3.
Fantastic Sega beat 'em up. It's the third, clearly, in the series. You get superpowers where if you keep getting power-ups, it levels up your ability where it gets even stronger, which is pretty neat, so you don't have to use your power-up right away. Very good music for what the Sega synth card had, and
Oh, and it's an
I
outstanding
liked
beat
it.
'em up.
I really liked it. It was
I
probably one of my
love the
favorite
mechanic
ones.
of you have to pick up like potions, mana potions to
Yeah.
like collect or like store up your special use.
So you can pick different paths in this one. You can, so if you want to go to the end boss, you can take the linear way, or you can alter your route. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is also Sega's last first party
And that's
game
a really
ever released for the Genesis.
a very good way to end it for Sega, because
And
that's a
very expensive.
great game to end it on. And I have to say the same thing for Super Nintendo. Having Kirby be its last kind of game is a really good way to end it for that console as well.
Yep. Yes, EA games.
So, EA Games' other releases as well. Basically the same typical stuff at this point. At this time, you had your 3D versions of the EA games on Saturn and PlayStation. So people were kind of not paying too much attention to the pixelated top-down version of these sports games. So that was, at this point, no one really cared about these ones anymore. Everyone's kind of moved on to the next generation, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could walk into a Next Wave or your local used or retro video game store and you could probably pick up a copy of 98 on either console for $5.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's just at that point, everyone moved on to 3D. It was the course.
Yeah. The next thing in the list, I only put it there because I want anyone that listens to this to Google this shit. Sega Sanshiro. So the Saturn realized they were in trouble very quickly, and in Japan they decided they were going to go with the craziest fucking ad campaign I've ever seen in my life.
So awesome.
It's so weird. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Hiya!
So Segata Sanshiro is a guy who travels from town to town like a ronin, like a samurai with no master, and he saves the world by telling them to play Sega Saturn. It's so fucking stupid.
And he always explodes in the end.
Yeah, and
Kaboom!
he does crazy shit. Like he saves a town from like thieves, and then turns to them and say like, "Play the newest Sega Saturn games." And they were like, "What the fuck?" And then yeah, it's just it's so dumb. And the very last commercial, he like saves the world by like riding a missile into an asteroid.
Yeah.
And it's fucking, and the song,
so fucking
just
dude, I
Google
love
that
those
shit.
commercials.
Just YouTube it and watch every single one.
Segata Sanshiro.
Yes.
Bernie Stoller.
Yeah, that's like the head of Sega at this point.
So he openly states that the Saturn is not Sega's future.
Right.
What a terrible
So
thing
we're
to
2
announce.
years into the Saturn's life, and he tells everybody, this is not our future. This is not the console that we're running into the future.
Worst thing you
Which
could do.
means he's hinting that the Dreamcast is a thing. But imagine you bought this fucking thing.
Yeah.
And now you're told, well, it's not really our focus at this point, so we're going to move on. You're pretty pissed off.
I'd be super pissed off.
So that's important to note. So this is really the beginning of Sega's downfall, is them deciding that they can't decide.
Okay, so imagine, so it's been out for 2 years at this point.
Yes.
And most people probably bought the device after a year of marketing.
Yeah, they didn't buy it right at launch. There's the crazies
Yeah.
that will.
And now, okay, I got this relatively new device, and I'm starting to get used to it, and burning through all the games, and then if I'm subscribing to some kind of video game magazine, and I read this, and then I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah. That's like you're left in the cold. So at that point, I remember, so we have a thing here in Edmonton called the Bargain Finder.
Yes.
That I absolutely used to buy it every week, and you would check for used games.
Likewise.
And holy shit, did the number of Sega Saturns for sale start climbing at this point.
Yeah, it's a foolish business decision by Sega.
In every way. And like, it's not to say that in you know, the future of it, Dreamcast is an amazing console, had amazing games, and yet failed.
Yeah.
Because of its past, not
Yeah.
because of the console itself.
Yeah, because sadly enough.
And the
But
Saturn
that's
was really
way in the future, though. That's so far in the future.
so far in the future. That's another podcast.
What is this?
So PSX is
PSX.
the PlayStation. So in '97, this is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh,
Sorry, I put it all in abbreviation to save room. And this is another example. It did come out on the Saturn too, and it's unfucking playable.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Even though you can play as Maria in the Saturn version, it's terrible. The PlayStation version, however,
Classic.
boy is it. And it's so good that it changed every Castlevania from this point on. Like that, I mean, we used to know Castlevania as a platformer with a whip, very hard, had crazy bosses like, you know, the Grim Reaper or Death. And then after this game, it completely turned into Metroid style games, and that's why you hear Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Because of this game.
Okay.
In hindsight, it's not even the best Metroidvania.
No.
Castlevania. Like there's better. Like
That's for
Aria of
Simon's,
Sorrow.
That's for Simon's Quest.
Aria of Sorrow is the best Castlevania, like Metroidvania style.
Yeah.
Like I think Portrait of Ruin's even better than this game.
I have to go with Simon's Quest still, man. Sorry.
You fucking. He's kidding. Because you just naturally knew to kneel at that fucking place for 30 seconds, right?
Yeah, 10 seconds.
Yeah,
10 seconds.
Bullshit. That game is
you lost
fucking
me there.
bullshit.
Anyway, moving on.
Parappa, the rapper.
Parappa the rapper. Crack, crack,
So-
crack the egg into the bowl. Crack, crack, crack the egg into the bowl.
So
Stir, stir, stir.
this was like a
something to the
timing
mix.
game where you had to press buttons at the right time. It was a rhythm game.
Yeah.
What? Da, 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 da,
But
da,
it was so wildly different than normal. This is what a lot of people saw and went, holy fuck, like PlayStation really is different.
Dude.
And this game is partially responsible for a bunch of people bailing from Nintendo Sega and just
But
going
what a
right over to
silly
PlayStation.
fucking game. What a silly
It is
fucking
stupid,
game.
man. Like,
It's basically
you're
a
wrapping
song and
instructions
you
on
have
how to bake a cake. Like,
you have to time the button. It's an action time game in front of you where you have to
essentially
press
think Guitar Hero.
yeah,
but
Guitar Hero
sideways.
where you press your button when it lines up and
Yeah.
that's
It's
basically
rhythm.
what the
It's
game
rhythm
is.
game.
But
right?
it was a big hit. Everybody about
It's fucking weird.
It's
but
like honestly, I think that almost sold more than Crash Bandicoot when it. I think it was.
rightfully so, because Crash.
I think it was about the same when it first
Crash
came
is trash.
out. Ooh.
Yeah, I said it. And then the last game that I had up on the list for games that we're going to talk about, and we're not really going to talk about it, is Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, we can't really talk about that.
No, it came out what 7/7/97 or 9/7/97, September 7th, 97.
I'm guessing that was one of the bad ones.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a terrible game. It's,
Yeah.
really doesn't have a
Final
legacy.
Fantasy VII, the worst Final Fantasy game ever.
Yeah.
Become.
Okay,
Whoever played that were fools.
We
That's
shall
what I say.
embark into the last section of the
Let's
do it.
podcast. So this is our kind of final notes. Should I just read off some of these stats and
Sure.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so here we go. This is kind of a summary of all of the sales that the different platforms made for 1997 or for this whole.
This is the whole era, the whole generation.
Whole 80s to 90s.
So the final
Wow.
numbers essentially.
Wow. All right, so the Snes sold a total of 49 million games.
So games that sold 1 million or more, they had 49 of them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
49 games
Out
were
of the
what
700.
could have
Or a million
been
or
what they
more.
call like the player's choice.
That's out of like the 700
Okay,
some
alright.
games
Yeah,
released.
49 of them sold 1 million or more.
Okay, thanks.
Wow.
So in the same tone, Genesis had 17.
And this we have to throw a
Really?
disclaimer
Really?
because they don't disclose what they sold in Japan.
Oh, well, that's a big
so it's
market.
probably higher,
Hmm.
but not much
Hmm.
because Japan did not love the Genesis.
So in the end, really, as far as sales goes, Nintendo just eventually did a better job.
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
SNES total console sales were 49 million.
Wow.
And this is we know this number is absolutely accurate because
That's a
Nintendo
lot.
did divulge everything. The number we're not entirely sure of, and this is the highest guess, is the Genesis.
And that one was 47 million.
Yes.
Wow. Compared to nowadays, like the Xbox and the PlayStation consoles nowadays are only selling, what, like 12 or 15 million both each?
Which, sorry?
The new PlayStation and Xbox?
Oh,
Like,
God, no.
Aren't they at about like 12 or
No,
15?
PS4 is like 90 million.
Aren't we on PS5 right now?
Well, PS5, I mean, it's probably low because nobody can fucking buy it.
Oh, I guess that's... Never mind. I guess
There's a
we can't
shortage,
really,
right?
Okay, we guess we can't really compare to nowadays, but that's quite a huge amount. 49 million, 47 million. That's very close for both companies. Like, seriously. Like
It was a battle.
It's
And
a couple million off. That's
the
not
Genesis
bad at all.
numbers, that's almost entirely US because it did not do well in Japan.
Hmm.
Period. In fact, the next one on the list,
That's the PC Engine
and it had what, 15?
15.
And yet it beat the Genesis in Japan.
Wow.
So, you see how, if you're just talking America, Genesis actually beat Super Nintendo.
But not across the pond.
We mentioned earlier about the Neo Geo. That was only 1 million.
Which, you're not making money at that point.
No.
And the Philips CDI was
Terrible
570,000.
Terrible console.
Yeah, we threw that in there just because.
The controllers, the controller is awful. People
Well, it's a
basically
remote.
bought-
It's not a controller.
Yeah, people basically bought that to watch movies back in the day and listen to music.
And make fun of the Zelda games.
Yeah.
I have to use the washroom real quick if you want to continue down that list.
Sure. So out of the 49 games published by Nintendo that made 1 million sales or more, 20 of them were actually developed by Nintendo. Then Capcom had 9 of those games. Squaresoft had 8 of those games. Enix had 5. Acclaim had 3. That's probably every Mortal Kombat. Bandai had 2, and Virgin had 1. And I don't want to say it's Cool Spot, but I think it might be. Out of the 17 that we know made $1 million for Sega, 11 of them were published by Sega, 5 by Midway and Williams, 1 by Capcom, and here's where I have a problem with the list. 0 of those are EA. And we know half of those fucking games sold $1 million or more.
At least.
So, that's where I have a problem with this list. Oh well. Let's call it 23 million seller games by Genesis. Like, that's fair, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think any of the NBA games actually sold $1 million, or it's close. Madden, definitely.
You know what? Hold on.
But NHL?
Hold on. So maybe not back then for the time, but nowadays probably.
Sure, but on the Genesis,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Because like everyone
also
who wants
think
a
about this,
console now, that's
million
like a
sellers.
$5 game. You'd pick that up, no problem. You'd be like, oh, sure, I'll pick that up.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. You're rebuying an existing game.
I guess that's a good point.
But let's be, this is the part where Canadians have to, accept the fact that not everybody loves hockey.
Yeah.
Like most of America. Does it sell 1 million copies? Just in case, because it's mostly Canadians
I'd say
buying the
at least
game,
1
right?
million,
so
yeah.
maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's like 900,000,
Okay.
which is that's a successful game, but is it $1 million seller? No, so it's not on the list.
Yeah.
We'll have to think about that. If you took the top 10 games from the Genesis, top 10 games, and took the sales, and remember, they don't divulge their Japanese sales, so at best, let's add 10 million. 41.6 million. So let's say 50 million. Be fair. Let's give them a benefit of the doubt. Super Nintendo, total sales from its top 10 games, 77.5 million.
That's it?
That's out of 10 games, they averaged 7.75 million copies each. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's probably over the entire lifespan of the console.
Yes.
Hmm.
I mean, keep in mind.
Because I mean, compared to
You cannot compare.
nowadays,
You cannot compare it to
I
the
know.
Switch. Every fucking human being that owns a Switch bought Mario Kart.
Yeah.
In
that's a good
fact,
point.
Mario Kart 8 has outsold the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
The
I
game,
believe it.
the game, has
Yeah.
sold more than 49 million copies.
I believe it.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo software attachment rate. So this
Okay.
is for every console that's sold, how many games on average were bought with it over the lifespan. So we don't count, okay? Because I own 60 fucking Super NES games, and then another 80 Super Famicom games. So my attachment rate would literally be 60, not counting the Super Famicom. 7.7. So out of every console ever released, that's the 15th best ever. So the average Super Nintendo console owner in the 90s owned 7 games,
Yeah.
almost 8 games.
That's
Genesis,
pretty accurate.
the Genesis,
At least 20 games or 30.
16
Yeah.
to 1.
That I
Way
totally-
higher attachment rate.
Yeah.
So Genesis owners bought more games.
Yeah.
By far. That's the 3rd best ever. Ever. For every console or handheld. And it's usually the handhelds that have more games. What else do we have here? Last Genesis game ever released was Frogger in 1998, but we're not going to fucking count that because Majesco is a toxic shit pile on the gaming industry.
Yeah.
NBA Live 98
Oh, that's
was
a good
the
one.
last real game released for the Genesis.
That's a good one. So
For the Super Nintendo, the last third-party game, because we already said Kirby's Dream Land was first, Timon and Pumbaa's Jungle Games
that was in that.
was the last game. It was released 3 days later than NBA Live 98. And then also Majesco tossed Frogger on that shit too. We're not counting that. Official Mega Drive games that didn't make it to America. So it was either unreleased or canceled. 176.
What?
So 176 Mega Drive games did not become Genesis games.
What a waste. What a total waste. Why not?
That is a 1.2 to 1 ratio of games that were... So that's... If you took
That's an entire
Japanese
year.
games, there's 1.2 times more games than American games. Ready for this? Super Famicom unreleased games. 975.
What?
So that's a 2.35 to 1 ratio of
So
Japanese
these are
games
like
over
game
American
developers
games.
that started the games and never wanted to finish.
Well, like
their
keep in
original-
mind, who the fuck is going to play Mahjong
Yeah. Okay.
in America, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that shit doesn't come over.
okay.
There was 975 of those games that did not come here.
Which some of them are awesome wrestling games, but that'll be for a different.
Well,
podcast.
we're gonna mention one of them right now. The game is called Terranigma, and Terranigma never made it to North America. It was the third game technically in the Soul Blazer trilogy. So there was
cool.
Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia. Terranigma is by far the best of those games, and it never made it here.
That's too bad.
Look it up. Fucking amazing game. So Saturn games that were unreleased or canceled. 1,007. So that's 4.9 to 1 ratio of Saturn games in Japan to Saturn games in North America. Now you can see how Saturn was actually successful in Japan and not here.
Yeah.
Because they had a million fucking games. One of them is Radiant Silvergun, by far the best shooter I've ever fucking played.
Panzer Dragoon.
No, that made it here.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Stupid expensive.
Fire Pro Wrestling 6-man scramble.
Yeah, Super Bomberman, actually.
Super Bomberman.
Saturn
Yeah.
Bomberman, 10 player, by the way. You could plug in two
6 players.
10.
Up to 10 players?
So the Saturn multi-tap was
Shit.
a 5-controller multi-tap. You
Yeah.
could plug in one into port 1 and one into port 2 and run 10 goddamn controllers, and it played...
Jiminy Pete.
It played in widescreen.
That's insane. I can't even picture that on like a tube TV back then, you know, with like 10 people with controllers. That's pretty nutty.
Last stat that I have. PlayStation games unreleased or canceled. Never made it to North America. 3,609 fucking games.
That's a extraordinary amount.
And yet it's a lower ratio, 3.7 to 1. So, yeah, that's a lot of fucking games.
I guess that's a lot. different.
3,600 games never made it over here.
Yeah. The age of 3D.
So that is every note that I've ever put down for this.
So then, what are your final thoughts on the entire war between the two consoles and the games released and the times they were released?
Is there an
at?
obvious winner between the two?
You know what?
I don't think there's an obvious winner.
I don't think there
people
is.
will still prefer their preferences, right? Like
Yeah.
Europe, flat out, Genesis fucking dominated. Here, it was very close.
Super
In Japan, it wasn't even. It was Super Nintendo absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
So really, at the end of the day,
But then in Brazil, it was Genesis all the way.
yeah.
So it's
But like all 17 of their gamers, yeah.
but
You know, like
yeah,
they didn't fucking make much because it was all pirated.
What's some final thoughts like as far as games and like what would you say in your mind makes one console better than the other in your point of view?
For one, the controller. I will always prefer the Super Nintendo controller,
It's a great
even over the
controller.
6-button Genesis. Like, I still prefer the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Shoulder buttons, everything. When the Saturn came out, that was a better controller, but it was all because of the shoulder buttons. The games, man, like as good as the Genesis was, I almost always rented Super Nintendo games. It was
That's an
so
important
rare that I
factor.
would actually take a Genesis game instead.
Yeah.
And then, like, really at the end of the day, thank fuck I had both because I got to enjoy both.
Yeah.
Well, and all three at one point. But I still think at the end of the day, if we had this, you can only choose one, I think we all know what I'm choosing. It's Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo, really? Well, that actually catches me off guard because I thought you were going to say Sega Genesis.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain games on the Genesis that
You were raving about Streets of Rage
Oh,
and
and
how
it's
it's the
sti-
best
and
fighter
trust me, it fucking
beat 'em
is.
up.
No other can touch it.
Okay.
It's so fucking good. But then that means I lose every RPG, which they were clearly better on the Super Nintendo. I lose Super Metroid. I lose Zelda. Lufia, man. Fucking Lufia. And all those other amazing games, like Rock and Roll Racing was there were so many multi options, but the exclusives were better on Super Nintendo for me. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
So what about you? I mean, I think it's an obvious answer, but
Yeah. For me, I'm also Super Nintendo all the way. The only thing though I can say is that I have fond memories as a kid going to my friend's place and playing sports games on his Genesis and wrestling games on his Genesis because Sega always had the best wrestling games and basketball and sports games. And back in the 90s, this may sound crazy, but sports were very popular. It wasn't always like that. Hockey just started in the early 80s when they got TV exposure, because before that was almost like quote-unquote syndicated television where you can see every team. So when you could have a game that had every team on it, that made you feel like you were part of the time. And the same thing goes for wrestling. Wrestling was very popular. I remember seeing the wrestling commercials for the video games that were going to come out for the consoles, and my friend had a Genesis, and we would play wrestling games on there. Like, literally memories of pizza, Mountain Dew, and nachos and stuff. Seriously, like, I don't know if you ever experienced that, but that was the 90s, was doing sleepovers and trying to beat a game that you rented because you were going to bring the game back on Sunday night before you went to school Monday. That was the weekend back then, man.
Yep.
And if I go by just what I rented the most, I rented the most Super Nintendo games, and I rented the most Nintendo games. I rented Game Boy games, and I would only rent Sega Genesis games if ever I would go to my friend's place. And whenever I actually rented a Sega Genesis game, I'm like, I can't believe I'm renting a Sega Genesis game. I don't have this console. But it was it definitely Super Nintendo for me. But I love wrestling. All the wrestling games were better on Sega Genesis. So
yeah,
Super Nintendo all the way. So that's just the way the world works, man.
Yep.
The controller's great.
Sorry, I was a big you would think that I was going to be the Genesis defender here, but
yeah, totally.
And I mean, in the room I am, but it's still at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then Curtis here, I think, only really experienced either of these consoles whenever he hangs out here. So
Yeah, it's not really like I had a choice as a kid
yeah.
for either console because they weren't really available to me.
But
Yeah.
if you would say like some games that you had the most fun with, I guess it would be too like linear because we don't really play that many Sega Genesis games. You and I. Like
Nope.
maybe
Not-
General
not at all.
Chaos.
Nope. We
You
haven't
know?
played any.
Any. So you can't even base an opinion almost
As an
on it.
adult, I mean, we're trying to,
Yeah.
this is all about nostalgia, so I have
Childhood.
to think about what I was thinking in the 90s. And when I did play a Sega platform, I don't think it was even Genesis. I think it was Saturn,
Saturn, yeah.
I think. But
Or even Sega Dreamcast.
yeah, for sure that. But I don't think I even played Genesis as a kid at all.
Yeah.
Everyone had a SNES.
It would have been one of those where it's like, well, if my friend has it, I'll go over to his place and
Yeah.
I'll play it there. And like, I guess that's really a way where it's either you made the cash and you had both, or you didn't and you had one and then you were stuck with it, so you couldn't really base your opinion on both consoles unless you had a friend who had one. So
Hmm.
yeah. But man, we have a lot of fun playing a bunch of games on Super Nintendo still to this day. Like 20 plus years after the game console was released, well, almost 30 really, but man, you can't tell me like every time you put in Super Mario Kart, you're not gonna have a fun time, you know?
Yeah.
Or every time you put in Desert Strike,
Mm-hmm.
like that's always so much fun.
Mhm.
Anytime we play basketball or hockey, it's a great time.
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot of good fond memories for these consoles, and you can't really compare it to consoles of nowadays, because right now what you have is like all your different versions of Call of Duties and zombie killing games and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else, Halos and whatnot, right? It's not the same as it was back during the 90s, so it's pretty cool to look back and reflect on how I saw video games go through its slow evolution, because it was very slow when you think about it. It took a lot of years for it to go from pixelated shit to 3D shit.
Yeah,
Still
and
looks like shit, but it's 3D.
I think it's also like almost you listen to the radio nowadays and you hear electronic, rock, country, R&B, soul, all on one station nowadays, because they've found a way to get their music played on every station, get the exposure, right? Like we were talking about this the other day, like Mother, for example. Like they used to be pretty alternative rock, and now they're everything. Just to get exposure onto every single radio station, right?
Yeah, to get your name out.
To get and to get the money, to get the playtime, right? And that's almost like gaming nowadays. Nobody makes exclusives anymore. They get their game out on every goddamn platform so that they can maximize the money that the development studio can make.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss the days when they just focused on one console and made a great game. You know, and
Kind of forced them to have to work harder, really.
up their game.
Yeah.
And we don't see that anymore. It's unfortunate, but it's where we are, right? I mean, speaking of like Fortnite, you can play it on your fucking iPhone now.
Yeah.
And does it make it good? Probably not. When you consider, you know, some guys are playing it on like a $3,000 PC, and then you have it on like Switch and iPhone, and it plays like shit. Maybe if you just stuck to, you know, your exclusives, games would be better nowadays.
Would you recommend some kids and some people from nowadays to try either Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis, just to get a
There's
better
absolutely
perspective on the video games compared to now and then?
almost like when you went from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 and how much more playable the games were. I mean, PS1 games and let's be honest, a lot of the N64 games, that rudimentary pioneering 3D gameplay, in hindsight, wasn't that great.
No, you're right.
And they don't hold up. Final Fantasy VII does not hold up. Suck it if you disagree. It doesn't. It's fucking ugly now. It's
I'm not a
really
fan.
blocky Popeye arms and
Yeah.
no mouths. Like whatever. The game was groundbreaking at the time, but now to go back and play it, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's like the gameplay is amazing, but the visuals are harsh. And much like that was, you know, Atari. But then evolving into like PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 and how much better games got, Super Nintendo and Genesis and Neo Geo and some Saturn games, they were the pinnacle of 2D.
Yeah, they pushed the boundaries at the time.
They were like, it wasn't going to get any better.
Yeah.
And
They kind of plateaued.
yeah, so we had to go into 3D territory. I get it.
That was the next step. Yeah.
But in hindsight, that was it. That was as good as 2D got.
Yeah.
And those games hold up today. Absolutely hold up today. Like
I
you
agree.
look at Super Mario Maker 2 on the Switch, which you
Yeah.
don't own. You need to fix that shit.
I played the first
You know
one
how
on Wii
many
U,
times we'd be playing Mario Kart online right now?
and I'd be killing you.
You would be, but you're not because you don't fucking own it. So get off your ass and own. But
Get a Switch.
so like Super Mario Maker 2, it totally like,
Reinvents an old game from 3 decades ago.
it's what we always wanted. It's unlimited levels for classic Mario. It completely hangs on your love of retro, not recent, not new, retro Mario.
Yeah.
And Jesus, how many copies did it sell? 20 million?
It
A
did
lot of
very
people.
well. Yeah.
A lot of people bought that game. So
Hmm.
clearly there's a retro market. Look at all, like as beautiful as Hollow Knight is, it's based on a 25-year-old recipe of a Metroidvania. It's beautiful games, unbelievable gameplay. Like Ori, it's built off a 25-year-old gameplay mechanic, and people love it. Super Meat Boy, which was at one point you were either losing your fucking mind swearing at the TV playing that game, or you didn't
It can
know
get
about
pretty
it.
aggressive.
Boy, is that game rough. Or you just didn't know about it yet.
Broforce,
Mhm.
perfect example.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Broforce,
Like
perfect.
these two last
Exactly.
games are ones that I've played on Steam on PC.
Yes. Super Blood Hockey.
Super Blood Hockey.
That
Man,
is
my
some
God, so
retro
much fun.
ass shit, right? And there's still that mentality. There's still that market
Yeah.
for this game style by
Mm.
far. And I don't think it's ever going to die.
Mm-hmm.
2D has its place.
I mean, it died for me like 10 years ago, but
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
playing those games for a minute. But then
Yeah.
it's like now I don't play any games, except for Deep Rock Galactic.
So good.
What a wicked game. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time.
Hmm.
You have to Google this. It's can be up to 4 players. You are, I don't know, piloting this spherical rocket ship through
Oh,
like
okay.
an asteroid field,
And
or
then
like
there's several of you that do
so-
use different stations. Like one of you
Yeah.
shoots, the other one
like
steers.
I can run up. There's 4 guns on the thing,
Yeah.
but only 2 people can be gunners at a time. So I can run up to the top one, you run up to the right one, but then there's enemies coming from below, so I have to run down to the bottom gun, and he goes to the left one, or whatever it is.
Very fun.
It's a super fun game. And then one person controls the jets, so they maneuver the thing around, and then one person controls where the shield goes. And you have to like move the shield around the sphere, right? It's
Mhm.
what a ridiculous co-op. It's so fun.
Really
there's
brilliant
Star
design.
Wall or Norwall game, whatever it's
Oh
called.
yeah,
Yeah.
Star Wall.
I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's like it kind of still there's still some 2D fan base out there, and you're always gonna see those games.
And
It's
I'm thankful
awesome
for
that, It's awesome that I think it's awesome that some of us lived through the 80s and 90s, and we kind of saw the progression of these video games, because it actually, believe it or not, I know you hear me complain about a lot of new games nowadays, but maybe it's because I had a hard time letting go of the past.
That's fair. I do too.
Because, like, man, some of those games, it's like you try to compare to a new 3D version, and it's like, I know a lot of people love Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, but a lot of us still prefer playing the original ones from Nintendo, and also from Link to the Past from Super Nintendo. Like, some of us still prefer those games over the 3D ones, so I guess it's very subjective, but yeah, in the end, I guess you'd have to either live through it and experience it to really appreciate it, and if you didn't and you're onto 3D, you're probably already in that mindset. It's like, well, why would I go want to play shitty 2D games when I'm playing 3D, right? There's that mentality, which I totally get as well. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's depressing now at this point that we're both picking Super Nintendo. I thought for sure this was going to be like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna
down the
have
middle.
a battle. I wish
No?
I could.
Okay,
In fact, I would actually take the Turbo Graphics over the Genesis.
wow,
I mean, some of the greatest shooters that nobody's ever played. The machine was built for them,
Yeah.
and all their shooters are better than the Super Nintendo or Genesis. So it needed more love too. And I'm kind of I love Bonk. Bonk's Adventure was just so fucking good. But hey, whatever.
In closing, is there anything you'd like to say there, Curtis?
Oh, it's been a real pleasure having you join us, Lauren,
Yeah.
as the Great Canadian Hosers and 8-Bit Tom Productions video game enthusiast and historian.
Yeah. I
Wish to,
finally found the channel for this useless fucking knowledge.
yeah, and I'm sure that there's going to
Totally
be
And the girlfriend is
potential-
so thankful that I'm talking to other people about this shit because she doesn't care.
I'm sure that in the future, there's going to be potential for other themed episodes
I
in
think so.
regards to this. So, if it's not on the Great Canadian Hosers, it'll be on the 8-Bit Tom channel for podcasts. So, you'll have some route of talking about all the knowledge that you have,
Oh, yeah.
Lauren, about this stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of other topics that Tom and I
Yeah, absolutely.
already hinted that we want to cover.
Cool.
So
Yes, and thanks everybody for tuning in for another epic episode of the chronological order of all these console battles, and just thinking back in the good old days when you didn't have a vehicle and you walked to the video game store and you bought popcorn and whatever your allowance could afford. I mean, for me, that wasn't a kid. I mean, Lauren was probably working a job. He was old enough.
yeah, like paper route and that first
Yeah. Mm.
fast food.
All the
job,
rest of us were saving up our allowance from mowing people's lawns and shoveling sidewalks.
riding
Yeah.
my bike down to the rental store. That was
Yeah.
what a
And,
memory, man.
Thanks for joining us, Lauren. Is there anything else you'd like to close with the Super Nintendo Sega Wars?
No, I just like go revisit it. There's the classic consoles are out. There's always an option. There's always ways to play these old games, and they hold up today. So it's worth playing them. That's it.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us for an amazing adventure through the early to mid-late 1990s. It was a pleasure talking about all these games, and we'll catch you in the future with some other type of theme.
Catch you later, you hosers.
Bye bye.